is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are San Diego.
The Mariners' Kyle Seager home runs in both wins in Seattle Monday, Tuesday. Matt Kemp, 13th homer of the year yesterday. Is there another in his bat tonight? What a power show from the Seattle Mariners. 77 home runs this year to lead the major leagues. They went deep 7 times in their 2 wins against the Padres up in the great Northwest. As we welcome you to Petco Park here in San Diego with Mark Sweeney, Dick Henberg. We're pleased that you're with us. While the Padres limped home from a 1-7 road trip, the Mariners are only a half game out of first place, and they win 17 games. A great May for them.
Well, they've done a really good job offensively, and they've scored 256 runs on the year, only second to Boston Red Sox, who have been putting on a show. It's the middle of the order bats. If you think of it, it's Robinson Cano, Nelson Cruz, Kyle Seager. In the month of May, they have combined hit .344 with 18 home runs, 62 RBIs. They are putting on a show. Also, the only threesome in baseball that has over 10 home runs and 30-plus RBIs. But you think about what's going to happen tonight, Christian Friedrich has to attack this strike zone. He did it in his last start, arguably his best start as a San Diego Padre, and he did it with run support. He has to be aggressive, especially against this lineup, because you know it's a potent lineup, but Christian Friedrich has an opportunity to really dial in what he did last time and build on his last start.
And he was the only Padre pitcher to deliver a win on that road trip, and has been a pleasant surprise, certainly, to a beleaguered pitching staff with all of its injuries. We'll get more on that later. Out of a thumping yesterday, 16-4 in Seattle, there was a rather interesting challenge to Christian Bethancourt, and we're going to find out how the catcher turned pitcher, turned left fielder, turned second baseman feels about toeing the slab in Seattle. That story coming up.
welcome back. Well, it is rare that you see a position player on the mound at the big league level. Well, as you can see, Padres catcher Christian Bethancourt got the opportunity yesterday. Well, here's manager Andy Green on his thoughts.
96 and a 53-mile-an-hour ephus. I guess it's the largest speed differential of the year in Major League Baseball, I'm guessing. So we knew he had arm strength. We didn't know how high he'd light up the radar gun. Obviously, you don't want to be in that situation to find out, but once we were there, it was intriguing.
I have like all the fans right next to the bullpen yelling at me, and they're yelling at me like, "You're gonna give up 2 homers and blah blah." So I was nervous, and then when I stepped on the mound, I mean, like, it went away. Like, it was just like having fun. I felt like I was back to being a kid.
Well, after yesterday, we asked him what position we can say that he plays now, and he smiled and said, "I'm definitely still a catcher." When we come back, it is lefty versus lefty. Christian Friedrich for the Padres, and another southpaw, like I said, James Paxton for the Mariners. Hopefully the Padres can quiet the M's. First pitch coming up.
Good to be home. A tough road trip, 1-7, and the Mariners mashed the Padres in the 2 games up there with 7 home runs in the 2 games, and things weren't very helpful from the mound yesterday as the Padre pitchers gave up 10 walks to go along with the longest or the most runs scored by Seattle all year, 16. And it's a new night and back home, and let's see if the Petco Park surroundings will inspire a few wins in a row for the home side as we look at the Mariners lineup tonight, brought to you by Hyundai. They'll hit in this order with Milwaukee leading off, Gutierrez bat second, then the power in the middle of that lineup, Cano and Cruz, 15 homers for Cano. Cruz has 10. Lee, the former Korean star, has 7. Then Seager with 10. Ionetta bats 7th. Sardinius, the shortstop, 8th, and the pitcher Paxton 9th. Left-hander on the mound is Christian Friedrich. Goes for a second Padre win.
Time for a scouting report and limit the free passes. Only has given up 10 walks in 16 in the 3rd innings, but last time out only 1 walk to the Diamondbacks. That was his best start. And also arm side command, we're going to look for that tonight. That is very important, especially with that fastball command away to right-handed hitters and into lefties.
And the Padres defense behind Friedrich, brought to you by your San Diego County Ford dealers. Melvin Upton in left field with Jay in center and Kemp in right. On the infield, there's Andy Rosales at second base getting the start tonight, with Solarte and Ramirez guarding the left side, Myers at first, and Derek Norris behind the plate. So the Padres trying to slow down this Mariner power machine. 77 home runs to lead the major leagues. And they've been so incredibly successful on the road. The Cubs and the Mariners with the best road records in baseball. Seattle 18-7 away from the confines up there in the Emerald City.
Pretty surprising, because their home record 12-14. You would usually see the opposite of that, but very good on the road.
Okay, who performed for the San Francisco Giants a year ago. As you look at Scott Service in his initial year as the skipper in Seattle, he'll be 49 on Saturday. Outstanding catcher in his day, 11-year major league career. Friedrich is ready, and so are we, as this Wednesday night action is underway, and the first pitch is in there for a cold strike. 34-year-old Aoki, and with Milwaukee, Kansas City, and San Francisco after 8 years in Japan. Slap hitter, and he takes strike two as Joe West barking out the balls and strikes behind home plate.
Sits right on the plate, as you see Joe West, the crew chief.
With De Jesus, Ripperger, and Danley occupying the bases. Same umpiring crew that worked the two games up in Seattle. That's a rarity.
Yeah, you see the split series, which has been 2 in Seattle, now 2 in San Diego. Very odd with the schedule makers, and that happens occasionally. But good to see that continuity with the umpires.
1-2, and it's off the plate. You see Aoki, who chokes up on the bat even with the very first pitch, but goes up a little higher now, just trying to slap at the ball. And he does just that and whacks that one foul off to the left.
You see Aoki's bat, and when he sets up, there's a lot of marks. And all of those marks are foul balls that you can see littered on the barrel of the bat. Typically, you'd like to see those marks right around that barrel area, but you can see all over the place, using every bit of that bat.
Whoa, up and in. And that dumps Aoki.
Well, Aoki sits on the plate. And you have to be able to pitch in and make it uncomfortable, but it's very uncomfortable. It gets on that head area. This is pretty close. This is a typical miss for Christian Friedrich. That is scary.
Padres didn't pitch inside much in the two games up in Seattle. Whether or not that had an added purpose, we'll see. Scott Service saying, I remember some of those, that chin music in my day. 3-2, and it's fouled away.
Yeah, those are the ones that you hear actually go by your ear. You want to play Major League Baseball, it's 90+ miles an hour. And the location is usually pretty sound at this big league level.
Well, a fan making a fine play to capture that souvenir, and those around him give him a good round of applause. And another foul. All of them off to the left. Four seasons in the major leagues after his 8 years in Japan, and hitting at a .287 career clip in the big leagues. A purposeful player. And he walks. Good at bat for Aoki. Battled to earn that free ticket. And that'll bring up Franklin Gutierrez.
Well, 0-2 to a walk, and I think the Seattle Mariners will definitely take that bat.
10 walks yesterday by Padre pitching, and that just added fuel to the fire in a 16-4 loss. 16-0 in the first 5 innings for the M's. Gutierrez checks in at .243. Outstanding defensive player in center field, but with Aoki joining the club, he's moved to left. First pitch in there, a breaking ball. Heart of the plate. Inside to Gutierrez. Just enough to move his feet. Not a bad thought.
I don't mind that. And you made, to your point, Dick, earlier, I think the Padres have to pitch inside. It's not every hitter. You don't have to establish that inside fastball to so many of the hitters, but it just makes you uncomfortable and opens that outside part of the plate.
Swing and a miss. Curveball at 78. My former colleague and close friend Dave Niehaus, the late Dave Niehaus, the Hall of Fame announcer with the Seattle Mariners, an icon up in the great Northwest, used to refer to Gutierrez in center field. Such an outstanding play where long fly balls go to die.
They do.
Line drive, base hit, a sharp single back through the box, and the first 2 men are on for the Mariners here in the opening inning. Not the start that Friedrich and the Padres had hoped for tonight.
And really not the location. 1-2 pitch. See the fastball that leaks over the middle of the plate and also elevated. Squaring that up, and give Gutierrez credit for working the middle of the plate and also the middle of the field.
And that sets the table for the big guns, Cano and Cruz. Cano leading the club with 15 homers and 45 runs batted in as he bids for another all-star berth, and certainly his numbers deserve that. 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner with the Yankees, and then in his first year in Seattle. Very impressive this year as he battles back from an injury that was kept very quiet a year ago. Had surgery in the offseason, and he rips that one toward the right field corner. How deep? Plenty deep. Home run in a hurry. Boy, these Mariners are unbelievable. 7 home runs first 2 games up in Seattle, and a line drive shot into the Petco porch, and just like that, 3 men up, 3 men in, and Seattle jumps out 3-0. Number 16 for Cano.
Well, not the start that the Padres definitely needed after the game yesterday. You see the fastball right down the middle of the plate. And Cano understands what to do with that pitch. That's a picture-perfect swing for a club offensively that are on fire.
So Nelson Cruz, still no one out in the first inning. These Mariners know how to go into that trot, don't they? Cruz has 10.
You touched on the injury to Robinson Cano last year, which, signing the big contract with the Seattle Mariners, he had to perform, he had to play, and it was a disappointing year for him. But he also played much better at the end of the year. And during spring training, he put on a home run display, and he has continued that through the regular season.
And how about this man? The last 2 years, he's hit 40 and 44 home runs. 40 with Baltimore, then 44 with the Mariners last year.
And you'd think that home run total would dip because the Safeco Field is not known for a home run ballpark. It's a guy that looks to do damage, and he's a very good hitter because he'll hit the ball out of the ballpark the other way as well.
Now 35 years of age. Breaking ball on the inside corner, gets a call. 2-2 the count. That line drive of Cano didn't have to travel far into the Petco porch. 357 it's measured. Just off the corner. That pitch closer to a strike than the previous one. Cano says, just follow my lead here. You know, you put the round part of the ball on the round part of the bat, and that sweet sound will tell you all you need to know. Off the plate, and the count full. Well, that gets a late call from Joe West. He thought about it and punched. Well, now he's walked him. So 4 up, 4 aboard. Second walk from Friedrich. And look at that, 12 and 14 at home before they took the 2 from the Padres. They were swept by Minnesota on the weekend, and then on the road, 18 and 7.
Well, you match it up, and the run differential when you add both of those is pretty impressive. Obviously 65 runs, not like the Cubs run differential, but this is a team that was expected to win last year, had a down year in a lot of people's estimations, but Scott Service, the first-year manager, done a really nice job, and his players are responding.
Texas lost tonight to Cleveland 5-4, so a Mariner win would vault them into first place in the National League West. Dae-Ho Lee, last 4 years in the Japanese League after serving 11 in his native Korean Baseball League. And in those 15 years, 323 home runs. He has 7 this year with the Mariners. High fly ball, and the Padres are finally going to get an out as Rosales out into shallow center to make the play. That'll bring up Kyle Seager. It doesn't get easier in the lineup. Here's a man hitting 6 that just tearing up May for this Mariner team. And against Friedrich, watch out. He's 5 for 6 lifetime and 2 home runs. Had a home run in each of the 2 Seattle wins against the Padres up at Safeco. You like his swing?
I do, and he's handled the ball up in the strike zone. You got to be very careful with that, especially the fastballs. But this is a guy that you see the numbers and the disparity from April to May. Actually, April 30th is when he started his hot streak, but 361 in the month of May. Scott Service will take that, and also his talent level. That's the reason why they gave him a big contract.
And he lines one into the left center. Jay can't get there. Soft liner. And holding it second is Cruz on the base hit by Seager.
Time now for the Ram Trucks Tools of the Trade. And for Christian Friedrich, you have to get ahead and be able to pitch out of the strike zone, not vice versa, that we've seen early in this game. And it's also that breaking ball, the established fastball early and the breaking ball out. And the Diamondbacks were exposed out of the strike zone, especially with that run support Christian Friedrich had.
So Friedrich went 7 innings at Arizona and gave up no runs and 3 hits, but has allowed 3 runs, 3 hits here in the first tonight. 1 out and 2 men aboard for Chris Iannetta, the veteran catcher. He, like Seager there at first base, playing college ball at the University of North Carolina. 2 Tar Heels back-to-back in the order for Seattle tonight. Infield looking for a double play, trying to bail Friedrich out of this rocky first inning.
Well, Chris Iannetta has hit into 2 double plays.
Off the plate. Friedrich's 28. He pitched at Eastern Kentucky in his collegiate years and was the #1 pick of the Rockies 8 years ago, the 25th overall, highly touted. Fastball at 90, doesn't get the call. Right on the paint.
Well, early in this game, you saw the ball strike ratio just around 500, which is not very good, but all of his misses has been middle in, or those pitches up and in. But he hasn't worked down that much at all.
So 3-0 to Iannetta. And he takes a high strike. Come on back. That's the good news, a strike to make it 3-1. The bad news is that the pitch count very high already for Friedrich.
Right at the top of the strike zone, and you see Derek Norris pull it in just a little bit. That's why Iannetta walked out of the batter's box.
29th pitch, only 1 out here in the first. High pop up, that'll make it into the crowd near the Padre dugout. First of 2 in the back-to-back series with Seattle. Then Colorado comes in to Petco for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then we'll see Atlanta for the first time. Well, there's a Mariners fan. The Trident hat. And another walk. That's the 3rd in the inning from Friedrich, and the bases are loaded. 1 out, and the 8th hitter, Luis Sardinas, steps up, the young shortstop.
Well, probably not the start that Andy Green was hoping from Christian Friedrich, especially after yesterday, where he had to use Luis Perdomo and also 2 position players.
Sardinius turned 23 last month. Native of Venezuela, a country that has produced so many outstanding players, dominating the major leagues. You don't have a player from Venezuela on your roster, something's wrong. There's a good curveball.
You see the infield is playing back right here and here in the middle of the diamond, trying to look for that double play ball.
Sardinius single in 5 trips yesterday. High fly ball on the infield, waiting for it to come down. Ramirez now backs off into the grass, and there's 2 away. Infield fly rule called. And that'll bring up the pitcher, James Paxton. Unfamiliar territory for Paxton. Of course, pitching in the American League, he's had only 4 at-bats.
Well, Christian Friedrich has been very good at runners in scoring position, also bases loaded.
You know, the stir in the background for a fan that unfortunately overserved, perhaps. Thought he'd go out and help Solarte field at third base. The hot corner is now his, and it'll have bars in front of it. You just wonder what goes through someone's mind to think that that's a smart thing to do.
It's not a smart thing.
So, yeah, one thing that has happened through the years, used to be fans thought that was really clever and they'd actually seem to support them, but now they know better. They're just somebody delaying the game, taking upon himself to be a fool, and glad to see him out of here. So Paxton, with the bases loaded, a chance to add to a 3-0 advantage without even throwing a pitch so far. And he takes ball 1. Pretty good pitch. Oh, come on now. Bases loaded. He's already walked 3, and now here's the pitcher up there. Make him hit.
Well, 0-4 for his career, but it looks like in this situation, you're just going to take a pitch. Act like a statue until he proves he will throw a strike.
35th pitch, and there is a strike. 2-1, right down the middle. Outfield swung around, shallow toward left. Full boat of Mariners, and a slap foul. 2-2. So the 9th man to bat, as the Mariners have hit around here in the first inning.
Well, he doesn't want to go 3-2, so he might get a get me over breaking ball in this situation.
And strike 3 called, and that'll end the first inning. They leave 3, they score 3. Mariners on a roll on the road. San Diego presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Kaiser Permanente. Drive by Petco, your complete pet store. By Jerome's Furniture, where Jerry's price is the lowest price every day. And by Sony, the leader of 4K Ultra HD. So the Padres will have to climb the hill again as they trail 3-0 going into the bottom of the first inning. And here's the lineup tonight for Andy Green, brought to you by Toyota. Familiar with Jay Myers-Kemp, 1, 2, 3, and Solarte now hitting in the cleanup spot in front of Melvin Upton. Derek Norris back in the lineup. And looking for some hitting luck is Norris. Alexei Ramirez, then Rosales 8th, and Friedrich, who's 2 for 7 as a hitter so far this year, batting 9th. Scouting report on the 27-year-old James Paxton.
Well, you look at him. He's making his major league debut this year for the Mariners. He has 31 career starts, but also he has that high release point, deceptive release point. Watch for that glove following with that arm and the release point, the high release point.
First pitch to Jay is called a ball. Paxton, a big guy, 6'4" and 220. Are Jay's numbers. As a leadoff man, late on that swing, and 94 on the fastball from Paxton. He can get up there 96, 97.
Yeah, mid-90s fastball, but also curveball, slider, and changeup to go along with that.
Chop to the left side, right at Sardinas, and his fire across in time. 1 up, 1 down, and Will Myers the batter.
We take a look at James Paxton's motion and the deception in that delivery. Watch that glove. It gives you that deception because he throws it up and then he follows with that arm coming over, and you don't pick up that release point for a long time. And with that mid-90s fastball, you'll see some awkward swings at times if you're not picking that release point up.
Will Myers takes a strike. 95 on the heater. He's faced Paxton 3 times with a couple of base hits. So he has a good feeling about this matchup and goes to 0-2.
Well, it'll be aggressive style from Paxton as well. Obviously the high velocity on the fastball, but he loves throwing to the glove side. Big strapping young 27-year-old.
Oh, with the stuff that he has, why is he not in the regular rotation? Watch out. Low line drive.
He's battled a lot of injuries, Dick, and also he has underperformed at times. Last year, at the end of the year, he was 3-3 in his last 10 starts. So he did pitch much better at the end of the year. But this was a guy, along with Taijuan Walker, they were relying on to be a staple in their rotation.
That ball hit well to deep right center field. Way back, and Myers will touch them all. Number 8 for Will Myers as the Padres get one of those runs back in a hurry.
0-2 fastball to Will Myers, and man, do you gotta love this swing. Battled the previous pitch, but 0-2 and going to right center. This is absolutely sweet by Will Myers.
That one clearing the T-Mobile deck and into the first row of the bleachers out in right field. So 3-1 the score. Here's Matt Kemp. Joe West saw that one as a ball wide. Well, Myers moves into the backup spot in terms of home runs for the Padres behind Kemp.
Now big smiles by Will Myers, and talking to bench coach Mark McGuire. He hit a few in his day. Why not go over how that home run felt?
Breaking ball to Kemp, and again, boy, tough strike zone for Joe West. According to Fox Track, those are on the edges. Two and two. Measure Myers' home run at 418 feet. Going the opposite way. That's a good poke.
Well, that's his specialty when things are going well. Home run to center and right center. Same thing for Matt Kemp.
This one hit softly to right. And it's a tough play and falls for a base hit. Cano playing over in the shift, had a long way to go, and right fielder Cruz slow getting there, and Kemp comes up with a bloop base hit.
Well, to your point, Dick, the shift does affect this. You see Matt Kemp taking the swing with the shift. Cano on the left side of second base has to go a long way. Also, Cruz playing deep. I believe that's Cruz's baseball, especially the way you have to look in and see the defense in front of you. But Cruz looked like he didn't even pick up that ball off the bat.
Now, Cruz, the designated hitter primarily in the American League action for Seattle. He hasn't seen a lot of duty in right field this year, and it looked that way on that play. Really never took command to saying, hey, I can catch that ball. And Kemp has a base hit. Solarte hitting an even 300 since returning from the DL. And from the right side, 5 for 11. Boy, another pitch on the edge and no strike call from West.
Well, for Solarte, you're seeing some much improvements on the right side. Joe West, you're going to see consistency on both sides of the plate. Has a tight strike zone, known as an offensive umpire.
Sharp shot up the middle by the dive of Sardinas. Here goes Kemp on the second to third. It's going to be close to third. Here's the throw, and he is safe. Just under the tag of Seager. A gamble by Kemp with a ball hit to left center. But Aoki doesn't have the greatest arm in that outfield. And the Padres are at the corners with a chance to come back and tie this early.
Well, hot hitting continues for Solarte. You see Aoki coming up and making a nice accurate throw on the outfield side. But for Matt Kemp, this is on him, not relying on that third base coach. He peeks and puts his head down. And a nice aggressive slide into third base, just beating the tag.
We had to bring in the hand after that foot skidded off the top of the bag, and he left the left hand and maintained contact, or he'd have been out.
I wonder if they are going to challenge this play. It's taken a long time for Seattle. They have the stall tactics.
There's something that the Major League Baseball has to address before next year.
I agree.
Put a clock up there, and you give a team 10 seconds. You're going to challenge or not. Call a lifeline to see whether or not you should challenge. I mean, it's just, and they don't.
I love the lifeline, though. That's aggressive, but also it plays into my strength.
So here's Melvin Upton with 2 men on and one swing away from the Padres taking the lead.
You like lifelines, don't you?
Well, it's, if it'd take me to 100, yeah. Ooh, good swing there. A ball right down the middle as we look at the keys to the game. As always, brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealer.
Well, after the result yesterday, offense needs to show up early. We're seeing that early in the bottom of the first, which has been really good. And it's time to bring out the arrow. Get Fernando Rodney to get a save against his old teammates.
I like it. 10 for 10 in saves. Haven't had many opportunities. Rodney. Chop to the mound. The throw to second is into center field. Kemp scores and on to third. Solarte. It's 3-2. So Paxton, feeling he had a chance at a double play, fires it wide of second.
Well, this is a bad play by Paxton because you see him peeking at the runner, which is a good thing. But after that, you just have to get it out at first base. Well, the Padres benefit this not only with a run scored, but also Solarte skipping over to third base. And you see Paxton very frustrated at himself.
And Solarte, a beneficiary, he has to get an RBI for that. You can't presume the double play. So they trade places, first and third, or rather Upton with the RBI. Solarte over to third, tying run with one out. 3-2 game. And Derek Norris, overdue, not with a capital O, but with a capital O-V-E-R-D-U-E, Norris. 5 home runs, only 10 RBIs.
Well, this is time to put the pedal to the metal. Upton Jr. with a good situation to run first move.
With Upton's speed, and again, we've talked about this often, Mark Sweeney, part of this game is you got to make quick decisions, but you have to have in your bank now what kind of runner is the man who just hit that ball? Is he a slow runner? Is he are they going to double up Upton on that ball?
No.
He goes, and no throw, and Upton has his 11th steal of the season to lead the club.
Well, this is aggressiveness, and it's stolen on the pitcher, Paxton. Even with that slide step, you see Iannetta not even thinking about Upton, checking on that runner Solarte at third base.
And there again, he catches Paxton, had to be still thinking about how could I throw that one away. And now Norris with a deep drive to right, but that's going to slice foul. Another nice play. Sign that young man up. Let's get him down to Peoria.
Yeah, high fives for everyone. Yeah, hugs. I love hugs. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a hug machine. I noticed that with you and Don Orsillo.
Oh, it felt good.
2-1. Inside. 3-1 to Norris. So the Padres give up a 3-run home run to Robinson Cano in the first inning, and then leave the bases loaded and come right back. Home run by Myers, bloop single Kemp, ground single Solarte, Upton safe on the air, run scores. It's 3-2. Now second and third, and a fly ball to right center shallow. In comes Aoki. Is it deep enough? Tagging, and here comes Upton. He's going to score. Or Solarte is going to score, and Upton goes to third. It's tied at 3. Norris with a sacrifice fly to fairly shallow center field. So the Padres able to manufacture a couple of extra runs here.
Well, you see Aoki in center field. He doesn't play behind this baseball, and you can see trying to hop to try to get some leverage on the throw. That's not good technique, and you see the throw going up the line. But Solarte waiting for that catch and advancing on the nice at bat by Derek Norris.
His 11th RBI, line drive to right field. That's going to fall, and another run will score. In comes Melvin Upton, and it's a 4-3 Padre lead. How about that? What a first inning. 3 for the M's, and the Padres answer with 4.
Early offense coupled with aggression, and you've got to love the atmosphere here from the San Diego Padres. This is the energy you need, and also relying on that veteran shortstop to go the other way. See the Padre hitters going the opposite way early in this ball game.
That error playing very large for the Padres here. The throwing error by Paxton has cost him and the Mariners a couple of unearned runs. And here's the number 8 hitter, Adam Rosales. It all began with one out, the homer by Myers, then a blue pit Kemp. Solarte a ground single to center. Upton safe on that throwing error by the pitcher Paxton, and then Norris a sacrifice fly. Ramirez drops a single into right field to give the Padres the 4-3 lead. 97 with ease from Paxton, but out of the strike zone.
That's good for the Padres having smiles and also energy in that dugout. It's been a struggle, especially when you go on the road and not win ball games on a consistent manner.
Runner goes, and he had the base stolen, but Rosales fouls it off. The Mariners defense, we haven't introduced them to you, but here it is from Renovation Realty with Gutierrez in left, Aoki in center, and Cruz in right. Seager, Sardinius on the left side, Cano at second, Lee at first. Iannetta behind the plate for Paxton. So ball and a strike to the veteran Rosales, who's 2-7, 2-4-7 against Paxton in previous games. And he hits one deep, high and long, and gone. Touch 'em all. Second deck for Rosales. Number 3 for Adam Rosales, and the Padres add. What a first inning. It's 6-3.
Well, 1-1 pitch. This is flat out delicious. Take a look at this swing. Rosales powering that fastball in a 1-1 count. This was crushed.
So both teams hit around in the first inning. It gets down to Paxton striking out with the bases loaded for the Mariners in the first. Now Friedrich with the bases empty, the ninth man to bat here for the Padres, and a good cut there. It's 0-2.
Now you see Rosales, he loves running the bases, especially when it's a home run. He had to slow down for Ramirez.
Ramirez said, "Whoa, I better get it back into second gear. He's up my back." There's a fastball at 99 miles an hour, missing. So how about the home run ball from Myers and Rosales here in the first? This may be the best first inning of the entire season. 6 tallies for the home team. Not a bad hitter, Friedrich. And he swings and misses there. So the inning comes to an end. Each team sends 9 men to the plate in the first inning. The Mariners get 3. The Padres double that count with 6. Myers with a home run. Number 8 for Myers, and Rosales clubs one into the second deck, his 3rd of the year. After 1 inning, the Padres lead Seattle 6-3. Well, this morning and after that dismal 1-7 road trip, the words from owner Ron Fowler. It's been embarrassing. I don't know how else to put it. Our performance on the road at 1-7 was pathetic. It's about as frustrating as it can get in a normal environment. As a businessman, he says if you'd performed that way over the last 3 years, you'd probably be unemployed. And he added he was embarrassed by it all. We'll get Andy Green's reaction to this morning's comments from Mr. Fowler as Aoki leads off the second for Seattle. Well, I've known Ron for a long time. The man has a big heart. He loves this game of baseball. He says what he feels, whether you like it or not. And he's paying a lot of big bucks to some of these players, and to have them perform as they did on the road. Did any of you like watching it? If you're a Padre fan, hard to watch.
Oh, I agree with that, and you can't fault the passion of owner Ron Fowler.
Had a chance to talk with him before the game, and I said, if you had it to do over again, would you have said it a little differently, maybe pull back some? He said, no, I'd have said it the way the second time around. That's how I feel. Slap to the left side, and a nice play by Solarde. First out of the second inning. Andy Green, the manager, his comments on Mr. Fowler's statement.
I appreciate his passion, his energy, and his desire to have a winner here. And it's his passion's almost unmatched. So, I appreciate that. I appreciate an ownership group that cares and wants to win and wants this to be special here. I share that with him, so I understand the frustration, and we'll go out here every day, try to win a baseball game.
You know, we all as fans too invest in a team. You know, if you're a Padre fan, you care about them, and when they win, you're lifted. It's joyous. But when you're losing, you feel the pain as well.
Well, Dick, I always try to put myself in that clubhouse and been in a lot of them. Obviously, 7 different teams, but I don't have a problem with it. And you think about it from a player's perspective. You have to go out there and self-evaluate every single day. You're judged every single day, and you're judged collectively. So I think of that, and we've had a lot of team meetings, around this. I think this is a rallying cry that you have to motivate yourself individually, but also collectively. Go out there and win a game tonight.
Well, and it started really on a negative note with 3 runs scored and bases loaded to end the first inning for Seattle, and I'm sure some of you fans are, oh, here it goes again. Yeah. Then to answer with 6 runs in the bottom of the first inning, perhaps the start of a healthier brand of play by San Diego.
Well, first inning, 5 hits and also 2 home runs, and great approach, but you saw a different attitude from the Padres.
Shot foul by Gutierrez, who singled in the first inning and scored on Cano's home run.
You know, there's always a sense of urgency in this game. You have to have. It's an edge that you have to have as you play. But collectively, you use as a group. There's so many different personalities in this game, and I loved what Andy Green had to say because he talked about passion. He has shown it, and also the ownership has shown it.
That one skips in, 2-2. Well, you fans watching, we've all been employed in various manners by various bosses. And if your boss comes to you and says, hey, I'm embarrassed by how you're performing for us, what do? You don't go in the corner and cry about it. You know, if you like what you're doing, you're going to come out and give your boss what he's paying you to do.
You know, Dick, one thing comes up in my mind, and it's a manager that Tony La Russa that I earned respect from, because he challenged me individually. He challenged everyone of where your heart was. Were you in it to win that game that night? And I made a bonehead play one night around the third base, ended up getting thrown out in a big situation. And he said, I played selfishly. Well, I disagreed with him. But that's the challenge that you have in these games. When you get frustrated about wins and losses, and it's mounting losses, that's what Tony La Russa was basically giving me a message for. And I didn't mind it. You know, you have to have thick skin in this game as well, because it is at this level you have to win ball games. And if you lose, people start losing their jobs.
So full count. Friedrich walked 3 in the first inning. And a rip ball through the hole on the left side. Gutierrez is 2 for 2. That'll bring up Cano. Homered on a line into right field his first time up. Didn't take long for this one to get out of the yard.
It's the rhythm and timing of Robinson Cano, and also 16 home runs on the season. He is locked in. See if they pitch him differently. That was the first pitch fastball. See if they go with different pitches and try to give him different looks.
With atypical physical specimen to play second base, Cano. He's a big man and still has good feet, can cover his position, and then bring that kind of power and offensive production to the lineup.
Well, I think the benchmark for second baseman is Roberto Alomar, who is the Hall of Famer. And you think about it offensively, Robinson Cano stacks very well with Roberto Alomar. So you would think if he still keeps on going and progresses with his career, he's probably going to be thought of as a Hall of Famer.
So a Yankee fan, get that souvenir. Don't forget, in July, we'll open the month of July with the Yankees on a weekend series, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd here at Petco. High fly ball to left field. Upton retreating into the corner and makes the catch. Tagging and advancing is Gutierrez on a close call. Upton has a good arm. 2 away. Now Mariners trying to get one of those runs back with a 6-3 Padre lead. And here's the cleanup hitter Cruz, walked the first time.
Pretty intelligent play by Franklin Gutierrez. Fly ball and just getting into scoring position with 2 outs. Nice throw by Melvin Upton Jr.
He's got a good arm,
He
doesn't
does.
he? I'm talking to some of the other broadcasters through the season, and the Giants, when they were in here, said they think he's the best defensive left fielder in the National League.
Well, said to Andy Green during spring training, he said, I'm going to win a Gold Glove in left field. Embracing that situation, but also getting playing time. Remember, he hit 8th on opening day.
Comes in tonight at 255 with a half dozen home runs, and he stole his 11th base this evening as well.
Well, to his credit as well, playing left field and established left field, they've shifted over to right field, right center with John Jay, exposing Melvin Upton Jr. to a lot more territory. He has answered.
1-1 to Cruz, and he takes it a little low. '94 home runs in the last 2 years, and you add 10 more this year. 104 home runs in 2 seasons and 2 months. On the outside corner.
Well, the interleague success as well sticks out. He has 20 home runs, as we previously saw in interleague play.
Again, the Mariners come into the game with 77 home runs on the year, best in the big leagues. They've added the home run by Cano tonight. And that ball hit high and deep. How far will it carry? Jay has room. And the inning comes to an end. Bottom of the second coming up. Top of the order, Jay. Padres lead by 3. Bed of flowers, bed of roses for the Padres, but a good first inning tonight as tonight's game presented by Sony, the leader of 4K Ultra HD. Yeah, we wondered about the first inning production prior to tonight. The best first inning of the season, 2 runs. 6 tonight. John Jay grounded to short to open that first inning as the Padres all 9 men came to the plate.
Capitalizing on mistakes, and James Paxton had a big mistake, that throwing error to second.
Line drive carrying to center. No, played on a hop by Oki, and Jay with a solid single to start the second. I think we should repeat for fans joining us that the ace of the staff for the Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, one of the great pitchers in the game, scratched from the lineup and placed on the DL with a calf injury. He was scheduled to pitch tonight, so Paxton called up from Tacoma in the Pacific Coast League, and perhaps the Padres finally getting a break. I mean, Hernandez, Paxton. Who do you want out there?
I'll take Paxton for 100, please.
So Will Myers homered to right field to get the Padres kick started in the bottom of the first inning, trailing 3-0. His 8th of the season.
Well, Dick, what's so good with Will Myers driving that ball to right center now, if you want to look for Paxton, especially with that fastball in, you can turn on it, especially when you get in a hitter's count.
Playing catch with Lee is Paxton. Jay not a serious threat to steal. He'll pick his spots, but not a big threat. Doesn't take a huge lead. Again, painting the outside edge, but not getting the call.
Yeah, that's one of the rare changeups for Paxton tonight. A lot of hard contact, and seeing giving a different look.
Curveball in the dirt. Let's go back to the home run swings. Match him up side by side, Myers and Rosales.
Well, Will Myers going the other way. You see that high finish and a nice finish, but Rosales, this ball was in and he turned on. That was a loud home run. Both of them big shots.
Second deck for Rosales.
Rosales looks like he was in a staring contest.
That's a strike on the bottom edge of the plate. Talking about raising the strike zone to the top of the knees rather than the bottom of the knees.
That might have been the first time that he's called that pitch down in the strike zone.
So if you're keeping score, that first inning 6 runs for the Padres, because of the Paxton throwing error, they could have gotten out of the inning with 1 run. So 5 of the 6 runs unearned. The pitcher Paxton's own undoing. And that ball shot to right center field in the alley and cut off by Aoki. Running all the way is Jay, and he makes it to third on a long single by Will Myers. Padres back to work again. First 2 men aboard for Matt Kemp.
I get so excited that you have a routine, you have a thought, and you go with it. Will Myers with that right center approach, the first inning, that home run, and now driving a similar line drive, but this is in the gap. John Jay easily cruises into third base. But the approach from the Padres has been very impressive tonight.
So the center fielder Jay checking his counterpart Aoki, reading the fact that he wasn't going to be able to get to that ball. Runs all the way. So runners at the corners with no one out for Matt Kemp. He dumped a bloop single into right field his first time. Beat the shift with a little balloon single in front of right fielder Cruz and out of the reach of Cano, who was playing over on the shortstop side at second.
The Mariners are back in the middle of the infield, looking for that double play ball.
Give up a run for a double play. Way outside, 97.
I think you're going to see some stirring in the Seattle Mariners bullpen. Paxton does not look comfortable. See Matt Kemp against lefties. 283 average. That is really nice. Scott Service looking at his lineup card, wondering how he could script out the rest of this game.
Out of play. Well, the advantage of the Mariners in winning 9-3 and 16-4. They didn't have to use their bullpen, and they're indeed starting to get loose down there. Steve Johnson, Joaquin Benoit, and Joel Peralta pitched in relief in game 1 up in Seattle, and Nuno and Montgomery yesterday afternoon. Ground ball into the hole and through. That'll bring Jay home as Kemp delivers an RBI single. It's 7-3 Padres. Kemp with a pair of singles tonight. 2 hits in 2 innings.
Reaction hitting by Matt Kemp. See the fastball in on his hands and gets his hands inside this baseball for the RBI single. This is good hitting.
Myers holds at second. Still no one out here in the second. And Solarte the batter. He grounded one sharply wide of shortstop Sardinas into left center field his first time. Again, that pitch, fastball or changeup, seems to sail away.
That first pitch changeup, he's not throwing it for a strike early in the count. They want it as a strike. And to the Padres' credit, they are staying in the strike zone early in this game.
Steve Johnson first up. That'll be in there at the knees. Solarte singled and scored in the first. Nice little run by the switch hitting third baseman. Last 7 games. That's the curveball, and again at the knees on the corner, but no strike call. Myers at second, Kemp at first. 7-3 San Diego. Padres trying to snap the 4-game losing streak. Nice crooked number. Biggest first inning of the season by far.
Yeah, isn't that good to see?
Line, but slicing into the right field corner. Just foul. That might have scored a couple. And Mark Sweeney, the beauty of this game, and there's much to admire. You know, you go from just a dismal, disappointing road trip, and within 2 innings, you feel good about the team.
Yeah, home cooking really has a lot to do with the mentality of every individual player, but collectively coming in and knowing the importance of this game and early in this ball game.
And if the owner Fowler's, there's a swing and a miss, strike 3. Comments have inspired that clubhouse, and good on Mr. Fowler. 1 away. And that'll bring up Melvin Upton. Biggest play of the game. Upton in the first inning with runners at first and third. Hit one up short of the mound, and Paxton tried to go for a double play and threw it into center field to give the Padres an extra out, and they went on to score 5 unearned runs. Big swing and a miss. Good job with runners in scoring position for Melvin Jr. 51 pitches now for Paxton coming up. Breaking ball, strike.
Well, different looks for James Paxton the second inning. He's gone to the secondary stuff early and tried to put them away with that fastball elevated with 2 strikes.
Swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts. Paxton gets Solarte and Upton.
Follow Padres baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game, video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Here's a tablet.
Yeah, I put that to use over in London, visiting my 20-month-old grandson. Here I am in good old jolly England, and I'm watching the Padres on that MLB app.
Is there anything better?
That's terrific.
It's your grandson, and you got the baseball app.
That shrinks the world. Derek Norris, sacrifice fly, and his 11th RBI of the year the first time up. 2 on, 2 out. Run home here in the second for a 7-3 Padre lead. I took over one of those little miniature hitting tees, you know, and a 4 or 5 wiffle balls. Got him out in the backyard.
How'd he do?
Well, I think he's going to be a switch hitter.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't always hit the ball, but you know, the stem that holds the ball, he took a couple of good whacks at that.
You got to hit that too.
And then we had to clear all the dishes off the tables because he wanted to break everything. Right, we got to limit him to the wiffle ball.
So you're saying he's a boy, right?
Yeah, he sure is. You know, if you tell someone that young, you know, less than 2 years old, if it's a young girl and you say that's really hot, don't touch it, they kind of back off, hold their hands up, but no. If you tell a boy like him, don't touch it, it's hot, they start to finger, they get closer and closer. Let me really see if it's
at least
hot.
you can slap it away.
Oh my. Ooh, that just missed a 98.
Well, Dick, we're excited for you to be back.
Yeah,
it's a good
great.
trip, but also doing Padre baseball.
I missed it. Now I love coming to work. The fact that this relentless schedule allows you every day to make a comeback. Out of play.
Well, you think about what happened with the long flight and then coming back. How do you feel? You feel good? You feel rested?
Coming back to the States, I really recover the jet lag much quicker than going the other way. It takes a couple, 3-4 days. Somebody came up with a theory a long time ago that we're on a 22-hour clock. So you go someplace, a 2-hour time change, you feel okay. But once you go third hour, that's a 1 day to recover. 4 hours, 2 days. And so you figure San Diego to London, it's an 8-hour time difference. If you buy into that theory, it takes you 6 days to recover. And it's really about that before you really feel good over there.
I think you look great.
It's the new tie.
I love that tie.
I went over
Pocket
in German
square.
Street. Oh my.
Yeah.
That's the best men's street in all of the world.
It's a lucky tie. 6 runs in the first.
Red, huh?
Yeah,
Come on.
I like it.
High, and the bases are loaded. Myers over to third, Kemp to second, and Norris on at first base. First walk from Paxton. And Ramirez the hitter. He looped a single down the right field side to knock in a run in the first. Chance to really push into a big lead here for Ramirez. Way outside, and he's missing consistently low and away, isn't
And
he?
he's also missing with his fastball. Fastball location, especially early in the count. A lot of hitters counts for the Padres.
Ramirez on the road trip, picking up his first home run as a Padre in Arizona. Averaging 13.5 in his career with the White Sox.
118 pitches combined in the ballgame. That's a lot.
And we're not out of the second inning. Well, it's just like you're paid by the word, right?
Yes, of course.
Maybe
That's
they're
why I
paid
talk
by
a lot.
Paid by the pitch. We all talk a lot, don't we?
Drives me crazy every night.
High chopper wide of Seager. Long throw by Sardinas. What a play. Kid's got an arm, doesn't he? But the Padres had on. Pick up a run on 3 base hits. Jay a single. Myers a single. And Kemp drives in the run with a single through the hole on the left side. There's the Myers base hit, and here's Kemp coming through with his second hit of the night, and the Padres enjoy a 7-3 lead. Tomorrow night will be Dog Days summer here at Petco Park. And in that theme, let's go out to Michelle Margot.
Thanks, Dick. Yeah, they say Petco is where the pets go, and they sure do now. We are here in left center field at the newest addition to Petco Park, the Barkyard. There are 6 box seats. Each accommodates up to 4 people and 2 pups. Great place to watch a ball game. You get to watch it with man's best friend. What more could you want? Tickets are available starting every home game after June 13th. And my question is if they allow cats, because I'm sure there are some cat ladies like myself who want to watch a ball game with a cat. What do you think, Dick?
Well, that's equal opportunities. I mean, we should provide them. Trouble is, my pet giraffe, I don't know where we're going to put him.
She's a cat lady, huh? I like dogs.
I like that Barkyard. Huh? Barkyard? That's
I do.
Nice.
I love that.
Well, tomorrow night they're going to have the parade of pets. The canines will go around the warning path, and then we'll be able to.
He's a good boy.
Check on those man's best friend, as they say, and I guess the cat is the woman's best friend.
Yes.
Hooked into the left field corner and up against the boards. So leading off is Daho Lee, and he's in trouble to throw it back to first, and they get him. Lee with that line drive off the base of the left field fence. It took a perfect carom back to Upton, up and hustles that ball back in. And Lee caught halfway between first and second.
Well, we touched on it earlier, and Melvin Upton Jr. possesses the strong and accurate throwing arm. Rosales with the relay to Myers. Daho Lee, you are out. That's a big out.
So instead of a leadoff single, Lee runs himself into an out. Perfect relay from Upton to the second baseman Rosales.
I don't see many left fielders with that type of arm. And also the accuracy.
So one out to Seager, who singled his first time, and he bunts this one into the shift. Good fielding? No, not so good. And safe for Seager. Good backup by Rosales to prevent that one from caroming down into the right field corner. Good hustle by the second baseman. See how they score it. Cleanly fielded by Friedrich, as the official score has to weigh that in his decision.
Well, watch Christian Friedrich get off the mound on the left side, easy falling off. I thought he had an easy play on this at first.
Ruled a hit.
You could see not gloving it the first time, then throwing it up the line. And credit Rosales for backing up. Perfect positioning, and always a position that you have to do, backing up a play.
How big now the play on the leadoff single by Lee to get him on that relay instead of 2 men on, no one out. 1 out, 1 man on, as Seager continues his hot hitting against the Padres. In the 2 games up north, he was 3 for 5 with a couple of home runs. He's 2 for 2 tonight. Iannetta walked his first at bat. Trying to go to right field, 0-2.
Well, with those defensive shifts, you're going to see some guys trying to lay the bunt down. We saw Seager do it up in Seattle. But it's really the responsibility of that pitcher to get off the mound and cover those bunts.
In the dirt, and Iannetta with a swing and a miss, strike 3. Second strikeout for Christian Friedrich.
We get into good pitching counts, you can expose them, and Christian Friedrich did it his last start in Arizona with the good breaking ball.
So 2 outs to the young shortstop Sardinas. Up to short his first at bat. Padres by 4 here in the top of the 3rd. 3-run home run. Robinson Cano in the first to get things started for Seattle. Padres answer with 6 runs in the bottom of the first, 5 unearned, and add 1 in the second for the 7-3 lead. Ripped up the middle, and a base hit for Sardinas. Holding at second base is Seager. And Beating the drum one more time again. The big play by the defense to get Lee on a single. Otherwise, the bases would be loaded and maybe better for the Mariners. Paxton, the pitcher, and this is a bit surprising and shows you that manager Scott Servais, even in a 4-run deficit, 2 men on, doesn't go to a pinch hitter when Paxton is certainly struggling tonight.
Yeah, the interleague play decisions from an American League manager, not accustomed to that. Not only is it his first year in the big leagues, but he's also played in the National League. He understands that style, but an interesting decision here, especially with Paxton's struggles.
And yeah, he doesn't look like a hitter, does he? Dangerous as long as you have a bat in your hands. But this is a situation that Servais doesn't have to face for most of the games of the season, having to hit for a pitcher. He's got a DH in the lineup. I think this is their first interleague game or series, the two up north, and then this one now strike 2 to Paxton, who struck out with the bases loaded his first time. Well, the Mariners had another series before the Padres, and they're 5-0 against the National League this year. Up high, 1-2.
Well, the thinking of a manager is maybe not exposing your bullpen early, riding James Paxton as much as you can, because they have a 5-game road trip that takes them to Texas after tomorrow's game.
Up high again. They played Cincinnati and swept the Reds earlier mid-May, and then the 2 wins in Seattle. Ooh, 3-2. So from a 2-strike advantage, Friedrich to a full count. That'll give the runners an extra jump.
I see Derek Norris probably setting right down the middle on this pitch.
Ball 4. Goodness, 4 straight out of the strike zone, and the bases are loaded. 4th walk from Friedrich.
Well, that'll frustrate you if you're a manager, Andy Green, with the reaction after that pitch. Remember, Paxton 0 for 5 in his career.
And ballsy out just to kind of settle him down with Milwaukee, the leadoff man, coming to the plate. So the inning, a lined shot off the left field wall, but Lee caught between first and second and thrown out on a terrific play. Upton to Rosales, back to Myers for the tag. Then the bunt single by Seager after Ionetta struck out. Sardinius, a solid single to center, and now the bases are loaded on the walk to the pitcher, Paxton. Aoki representing the tying run here in the 3rd. Breaking ball for a strike. One and one. Joe West has proven he is not a pitcher's umpire tonight. You've got to throw a clear strike. Way inside, curveball. Well, when you look at Fox Track, brought to you by Honda, it didn't miss by much.
Well, catches the edge on the inside part in our Fox Tracks by Honda. But Derek Norris was sitting on the outside part of the plate and adjusting his body to catch that baseball.
So 2-1, the action pitch with the bases loaded. Ground ball up the middle, and Rosales there for the short out at second, and the inning comes to an end for the second time tonight. The Mariners lead, the bases loaded. Great defense by Upton. Wow, he's got a big league arm. Big play. 7-3, San Diego. Back, brought to you by Clean, Crisp Coors Light. Call this the Bethencourt. About 41 miles an hour.
The Bethencourt ethos pitch.
I said, what was that anyway? Up there in Seattle, they trying to figure it out, called it a knuckleball. He said, no, that's just a batting practice choke up a fastball and just try to hold back on it. First Padre player, here's the fact, to ever play 4 different positions in a single game, from catcher to left field to pitcher to second base. Well, one thing for certain, it's a nice insurance policy for Christian Bethencourt to know that if it doesn't work out in his career as a hitter, he's got the arm to go to the bullpen.
It sure is.
96 miles an hour without even taking a windup, just rock and fire. Rosales jumped on a fastball and sailed it into the second deck the last time up for his 3rd home run. There's a no-doubter.
Well, this was a no-doubter. Sitting on that fastball and the leverage that he possesses. And I love it. Full out sprint into the second deck. Get going!
Yeah, and Ramirez was just jogging around the bases, and Rosales almost ran up his back.
See, the last time the pitch location to Adam Rosales, number 3, is what he capitalized on.
Hits this one right at the third baseman Seager across the diamond. And that is the first out here in the 3rd. Brings up Friedrich, the pitcher, who struck out the first time. Nice thing going on with SDG&E. It's a new promotion of sorts, charitable. Every Wednesday, they'll donate $1 for every Friar Frank hot dog sold at select locations here at Petco Park. Those dollars will be added up and donated to the military, to the SEAL NSW Family Foundation, to Reboot, and to the USS Midway.
I love that.
And that's every Wednesday. So you buy yourself one of those Friar hot dogs, and $1 for every one will go into a nice collective charity for a great cause.
Dogs for charity. You got to love that.
Swing and a miss, 2-2 to Friedrich. There's $1 going to a good cause and to a good stomach right there.
Yeah, he's loading up there. He's got the relish, the mustard, the ketchup. That's the way I like it.
I just like the mustard and the diced onions.
You do?
Oh, yeah. Look at the heat. Now, is he enjoying that dog or what?
You want a Tic Tac?
And that one on the edge for strike 3. That is the 3rd strikeout. As we remind you, it's time now for greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by Mobile. How about Mookie Betts?
Putting on an absolute show. 5 home runs the last 8 at bats. 3 yesterday, 2 today.
First place Red Sox of the 13-9 win against Baltimore. John Jay steps up with 2 outs. Swing and a miss. He singled and scored his last time. John Lester, our good friend from the Cubs, upset by the Padre win against him. Anxious to see him. I hope he gets to pitch when the Cubs come to town here. It was interesting. He was upset because Christian Bethencourt, who hit that monster home run, flipped the bat and didn't run around the bases. Line drive, another hit for John Day as he goes the other way. He will turn. He's going to try to stretch it into a double. The throw, and it is not in time. A double for Jay. So a 2-out, 2-bagger for Jay, and that'll bring up Will Myers. Just to finish.
This is my favorite swing. You see lefty on lefty with that head down on the baseball and going the other way. He gets to visually take a look at that line drive to left center. Now John Jay puts his head down with 2 outs. He is rounding the base and getting into scoring position with the slide into second base.
And as we talked before, and you have so often, Mark Swinney, knowing the situation, with no one out or one out, maybe you don't try for the double. But in that case, get yourself in scoring position.
It's a great time to be aggressive.
Will Myers, a home run and a single to right, a long single to right center the last time.
I'm pretty surprised that Robinson Cano did not keep on applying that tag on John Jay. So many times you see in that replay booth that they apply the tag and they come off the base a little bit of time and then they replay it. And you see this slide in, which is a really nice slide by John Jay. He applies the tag, then he takes it off, and I think John Jay comes off the bag until his right leg.
But he had his right hand following, and he made contact with the right hand.
Well, I think every infielder, middle infielder, is taught now to keep on applying that tag.
So we're going to miss 1 and 2. Padres now with 9 hits tonight. A couple of home runs. Myers and Rosales. Don't let me forget that thought about John Lester. Going inside quickly. He was upset with Bethancourt not running quickly enough, and when he hit the home run, the very next play, Lester didn't cover first base. He didn't run, and it cost him a base hit. He forgot about that. It was okay to criticize the Padres, but when he didn't run and cover the bag, his responsibility, that seemed to be okay.
Yeah, that's strange mentality.
That slap foul deep down the right field side.
Well, you see in our Fox Vision tonight, and it's always about location, location, location. And Will Myers taking a look at that inside pitch. Well, it's elevated, and he capitalizes to that right center. Well, with another pitch with the location, center cut to Rosales. This is in the second deck, and James Paxton, even with the good stuff, has missed location a lot tonight.
Ground ball sharply, but at the short. Oh, Sardinius bobbles it. Hold there at third, Jay, and able to scramble back with help from Glenn Hoffman, the third base coach. Now Sardinius charged with an error. The inning continues for the Padres. Jay to third. Myers on base for the third time.
Well, Sardinius tries to go around this baseball, plays it to the side. That's an old-fashioned boot. You see John Jay peeking over his right shoulder, just barely going by the bag, and it's play.
Second error for the Mariners tonight. The pitcher Paxton with a very costly error in the first inning that led to 5 unearned runs. So Matt Kemp, 2 for 2. He scored a run, knocked in another. His 34th RBI so far this year to lead the club. Out of play.
Well, again, 96 miles an hour, but that ball was supposed to be in on Matt Kemp.
Yeah, what's interesting about this game and why it's a game of failure, if you fail 7 out of 10 in the old story, you're hitting 300 and you're going to be in the All-Star game. But the sweet spot of the bat, what would you say? 3 inches, 4 inches?
Yeah, probably 3.5 inches.
So when you talk about the strike zone, which is 17 inches wide, even wider because you get balls on the edge, and the ball's 2.5, so you add 5, 22 inches. So you're talking about the pitch, you know, only being 3 or 4 inches off the mark. You want to get it on the corner, but it comes over that's right into that sweet spot.
It sure is, and that's the reason why we marveled at the great Mr. Padre, Tony Gwynn. He put the sweet spot on a lot of baseballs.
2 strikes and swing and a miss. Strike 3. 4th strikeout for Paxton. We've completed 3 at Petco, and the Padres in front by 4.
it's a hard place to pitch sometimes, and sometimes you don't have success in Colorado can affect you mentally a little bit, kind of, more so get to your confidence a little bit, especially, when you have a little tough time. But, it's great. This is a great park to pitch in. We got the much thicker air here. And Andy kind of, I know for the first time he experienced, so Andy kind of lets us go out there. He threw 100 and whatever pitches his first time, and I don't know, he probably could tell you, probably been a long time since he did that.
You think about mentally the challenges of pitching up in Colorado, both Christian Friedrich and also Drew Pomeranz, and how they've benefited. I think they've matured as pitchers. Obviously, you work on your stuff, but I've seen a lot of playing in Colorado. I've seen a lot of pitchers that cannot handle that mentally, and they've definitely hurt themselves going down their careers, but now benefiting from a new situation. And also what he said about Andy Green letting him go and having the backing of your manager and also your pitching coach to go out there and perform. Drew Pomeranz has benefited from that, but also with the Padres, you see the records and the ERA, very, very good.
Both ERAs in Colorado over 5. As we move to the top of the 4th inning, Gutierrez, Cano, and Cruz for the M's. They say about, and this is just a rough guess, but there's some support for the high altitude in Colorado that you add 10%. So think about that. A 400-foot drive is 440.
Yep.
And extra yardage and be the difference between a long out and a long home run.
Well, Clay Hensley's down next to the dugout, and Clay, you've pitched plenty of times, especially in this division, but also in Colorado, in the mindset going into that.
It's just one of those tough things. I mean, quite frankly, it's like pitching on the moon. So you can obviously see the numbers here with, Pomeranz and Friedrich, the fact that it's a lower ERA. It's a tough place to pitch, but going in there, the biggest thing for us when we would go play there was just to keep the ball down.
Breaking ball Gutierrez, and it's 1-2. Does the breaking ball get the kind of action that you would say here in San Diego? Is it harder to get the snap, that sharp breaking curve?
Yes, absolutely, Dick. The thing is, though, whenever I'd go in there and pitch in Colorado, the main thing I would do, I just try to slow some things down, give it an opportunity to break, because it's not going to break as much, obviously, with the air being so thin.
Swing and a miss. Off speed gets Gutierrez. That's strikeout number 3 for Friedrich. That'll bring up Robinson Cano, hit a 3-run homer in the first.
Well, Gutierrez, the previous 2 at bats, 2 for 2, but also the breaking ball exposing Gutierrez out of the strike zone. Very good pitching by Christian Friedrich.
It looked like a slider. You could see that circle in the spin. Well, Tyson Ross, his kid brother Joe Ross, another win for the Nationals last night, a 3-hitter. He's 5-4 now with Washington, and we're waiting for Tyson Ross, the opening day pitcher for the Padres, and we haven't seen him on the mound since. Gosh, that was a big loss. He did have a little long toss today.
Well, that's a good sign, too, because they've gone through the rehab and continue to build up that strength in that right shoulder.
Yeah, the loss of Tyson Ross immeasurable on the impact on the season.
There he is throwing today, and it's not going to be letting it loose. It's going to just try to be as comfortable as he can be. You see the mechanically sound, but also trying to feel what he's doing today, but also tomorrow, and continuing to build strength in that right shoulder.
A reasonable due date for him to return. Check swing, and it's a foul ball. Is the All-Star game. I mean, if Tyson can come back after the All-Star and be available for the second half of the season, of course, that'd be a big boost to this ball club.
Well, I don't think the Padres expected only one start out of Tyson Ross. That's a very frustrating element, but you have to deal with adversity. I know Tyson Ross and the way his work ethic is around the ballpark. He was going to do everything he can to get out on that field and on that mound as fast as possible.
Swing and a miss, and Friedrich takes care of Gutierrez and now Cano. 4 strikeouts.
For the love of elevation, you can see elevated fastball. Cano's eyes light up, and you can see swinging underneath the high fastball.
2 outs, bases empty. Nelson Cruz, a walk and a fly ball to center. '89 on the fastball at the knees. Breaking ball hangs outside. Away, 2-1. That'll be a base hit to right field as he shoots it to the opposite field. And the 7th hit for the Mariners tonight.
What a professional at bat, going the other way. We've always talked about his home run prowess, 84 in the last 2 years leading up to this year. But being able to back that baseball up and go the other way, this is impressive. Even though it's off the end of the bat, it's the right approach to stay on that fastball and also serve it to right field.
Make that the 8th hit for the M's. Brings up Dae-Ho Lee. Singled his last time. He's 1 for 2. And takes a curveball strike.
Well, talking about Dae-Ho Lee to a lot of these scouts, they've been very impressed how he's come over. He's adapted to the pitching, but he can handle a fastball both on the inside part of the plate and the outside, which have to expose him to the breaking ball and maybe fastballs off the plate. You think about the challenges, not only changing leagues from players like a Frazier going from Cincinnati to Chicago, while coming over from Japan and also playing in the States here. Very hard to make that adjustment. He's made it very quickly.
Pulled to the left side. Singled his last time, but then was caught with a big round to first base, and Upton making the defensive play, and here it is. This looked like a sure 2-base hit. Big carom right to Upton. Upton with a throw to Rosales, and Rosales able to react, and they get the out at first. Big play because 2 more singles followed. And no added runs for the Mariners. So 6 assists this year. 2-2. Yeah, I think back in my lifetime when you heard about some talent in Asia, Japan, Sadahiro. Oh, I'm sorry that Owen never got a chance to play over here.
I agree.
You know, he was the Babe Ruth of the Japanese league. Broken bat fly ball to left, and Upton is right there for the out. Bottom of the 4th inning, Jan Solarte will lead it off for the Padres.
I think it's run its course, in my opinion. I've been saying this for the last couple of years. I think they should do away with it for about 3 to 5 years and see how it goes. But I understand because of the way they've got the leagues now, 15 and 15, it'd be very hard to do. They'd have to go back to 16 to 14. But I think they should just do away with it for a little bit and just go back to the normal way it used to be.
So Mark McGuire on interleague play and his feelings. And those are varied around baseball. Frankly, I do like to see players from the other league. Boston's going to come into Petco. Yankees are going to come in. You look forward to seeing those guys here on the Padres home turf.
I like what Mark McGuire said, and he made a really good point. It's 15 and 15 now, so it's hard to do that scheduling-wise. You have to have 16 teams in one league and 14 in the other. But I miss the purity of it.
Yeah,
I know it's run its course,
too.
and I love the purity of the game, and then having that last series to really come into play. So he has a really good point, and I think a lot of players understand that.
Solarte leads off and drills a single to left field. His second hit tonight, and the Padres in double figures in that hit column. 2 hits for Jay, 2 for Myers, 2 for Kemp, 2 for Solarte, 2 for Rosales. 1 for Rosales, but it was a 2-run home run.
1-2 count, the fastball in, which Paxton has really tried to throw that fastball, but mostly elevated. And Solarte working his hands inside, driving that line drive to left field. Nice hitting by Solarte.
So the first 4 men in the order with a brace of hits for Andy Green's club, and here's Melvin Upton. Our buddy and colleague Mark Grant, I think, has a really good idea.
Yeah, I do too.
And he's professed this, and I think baseball should listen to the wisdom of the man from Alpine.
You have to listen to him.
Of course. And if you don't, he's going to tell you again anyway. So, so that the DH, they've got it backwards, according to Mark Grant. When Seattle comes here, we should have the DH, so we see them play. And when the Padres are visiting an American League team, just the reverse, so that fans get to see the DH. Like Cruz would be a DH tonight.
Showcase the different styles of game.
I mean, they've seen the DH in action, the American League. Let the National League see it.
You can't ever lose sight of what happens. And you see Nelson Cruz, normally a DH, he's playing more right field in interleague games. But this game's about the fans, so you have to be able to showcase that. They're seeing different teams, which I think is an attraction. But also, show their style of game, because I know San Diego knows the National League game and they appreciate it. But there's also some fans around here that like the American League style of game.
What do you think, Clay?
Me personally, I kind of agree with Mark there. I'd like it to go back the way it was, and I think mainly for the fact I used to always get torched in interleague games.
5 strikeouts now for Paxton as he gets Upton for the second time. Brings up Derek Norris.
But, I do agree with it, though. It's like you have small market teams and you have teams like Boston go in there, Yankees and whatnot. It gives the fans what they want to see. I think it's really good for the game, like you guys were just talking about. I mean, again, smaller market teams get to see those big clubs come in with Boston and the Yankees and whatnot. So it's great for the fans. It's tough for pitchers like me, though.
Well, obviously, we see Boston come in and New York, which is going to be exciting around the ballpark, which is going to be really good. But I wonder, there's that competitive balance, and I think there's not really a balance when it comes down to it. There's stronger divisions in the game of baseball. So if you're playing a stronger division, I don't think it's fair for your record to be standing with that.
100% agree, for sure.
Norris, a sacrifice fly and a walk, so no official at bat tonight. Chops that foul. Another discussion between Don Orsillo and Mark Grant over the 2 games up in Seattle, and it's interesting as well, is the emphasis of the winning team in the All-Star game, giving that winning team's league home field in the World Series. That's really a big advantage for one game. There's
Dandy
Don Orsillo, and he, of course, sees it from both sides after 15 years with the Red Sox. Swing and a miss, 1-2. And that the basis for home field should be on the total American League versus National League on the season. If the National League teams win more games, then they get home field. Then it's the entire league competing for that.
We've seen
honor.
it so many times. Wild card teams have won it, have advanced to the final games, the final series. They should not have home field advantage. They were a wild card team. The best team with the best record should have that home field advantage, and I think that should never change. It's what you do in the large body of work.
Yeah.
162 games is a lot of games.
Another foul, and that's why there's a big wave of support for the next commissioner being Mark Grant.
Yeah. And Mark Grant's fine, right? Well, you know, the reality of it too is, you know, during the All-Star game, you know, if it's representing the home field advantage team or whoever's winning the division or whoever gets to the playoffs, I mean, it's not the team that gets to decide that.
Another foul. Count stays at 1-6. Paxton still with a good fastball, 96 on that one. Kind of matched your fastball, Clay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think. I wish, right? But
hey, you can get a hitter out with more than he.
Look at the Seattle bullpen.
Joel Peralta. Just a bit low, and 2-2 to Norris.
What I like about Derek Norris tonight, he's grinding out at bats. See him trying to have that approach to right center, and also a 2-strike, continuing to try to stay in the strike zone.
Just a piece of that one. It was a nice shot of the two fans, two of the Padre Hall of Famers, San Diego Padre Hall of Fame. Trevor and Tony.
Said Trevor at the ballpark today throwing a little batting practice.
Anyone hit him?
I thought he was. No, they had some line drives awesome, but he didn't break out that nice changeup.
Oh, okay.
He did break out the fedora though.
Oh.
So 2-2. One out. Solarte perched at first base. Padres lead 7-3 here in the bottom of the fourth. And another foul. Ninth pitch of the at bat coming up. Outside. Well, James Paxton on the mound attended the University of Kentucky pitch there. He has that in common with Andy Green, also a former Wildcat baseballer. And on this date in 1792, Kentucky became a state, the 15th state in the Union, Kentucky. And a swing and a miss. So Paxton wins that battle. Strikeout number 7. Alexei Ramirez steps up. And here comes manager Service to the mound.
10-pitch at bat by Derek Norris, just underneath that last fastball.
So Paxton over the 100 pitch mark, 103, as he takes the place in the rotation of Felix Hernandez. Gives up 7 runs tonight. Gets a pat on the back from his manager, and 4 2/3 innings complete. And in from the bullpen, Joel Peralta when we return. San Diego presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Sequan Casino. Sign up for the new Padres Club Card today. By Jack in the Box, taste the Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack before it's gone. And by Mercury Insurance. We're on a mission to save you money. Log on to mercuryinsurance.com today. Well, it just seems like 4 2/3 innings for starter James Paxton, but only 3 2/3. He allows 7 runs, 2 earned, 10 hits. And this pitching change is brought to you by El Cajon Ford.
Well, the veteran right-hander Joel Peralta pitched the first game of this series, 1 inning of work, gave up 1 run, 1 hit, and also a walk. So he pitching in his 26th game in the season.
Enters the game with 2 outs, Solarte at first base, and Alexei Ramirez the hitter. First pitch just misses. Alexei dumped a single into right field to knock in a run, one of the 6 scored by the Padres in the first inning, and later scored himself on the home run from Rosales. And he hits this one a ton. The Padres about to hit their 3rd, and that's another dinger. Number 2 for Ramirez as he touches them all. And the Padres storm out to a 9-3 lead, feeding the Mariners some of their own medicine tonight.
Well, you really got to go back to the first pitch of this at bat. You see the fastball, but it's off the plate. Ramirez looks at this, knows where that pitch is. Second pitch, second home run as a Padre. What a beautiful approach, and what a great swing. Picture perfect for the veteran shortstop.
So after the Mariners strike for 3 runs in the top of the first inning, the Padres now 9 unanswered for a 9-3 advantage. Home runs by Myers a solo and 2-run shots from Ramirez and Rosales down at the bottom of the order. Rosales clubbed one into the second deck for his 3rd homer.
Now 2 out RBIs are killers for the opposition, and the Padres are capitalizing tonight.
1-1 to Rosales. And he lines one foul out in front of that one. So Paxton goes 3 2/3, 7 runs, 2 of them earned, 10 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Peralta comes in and is greeted by Ramirez with that home run. Lined again, but foul. Yeah, that young lady with the long reach. I think she's wearing a Tony Gwynn jersey as well. She deserves a souvenir, huh?
Love seeing the Tony Gwynn jerseys, T-shirts, everything.
Correcting Paxton's line, he's charged with a Solarte run on the home run here. So he gives up 8 runs, 3 of them earned. 10 hits, a walk, and 7 punch outs. Shift on, 2-2 to Rosales. Outside, no, a late call from Joe West, strike 3. So the Padres 3 strikeouts in the inning, but Solarte opens with a single, and Ramirez brings him home with his 2nd home run of the year. How about that? 9-3 home side. It's a 9-3 game. Robinson Cano got the Mariners off first inning, a 3-run shot into the right field deck. But the Padres came back. Will Myers with a home run in the first inning to make it 3-1. Padres would go on to score 6 runs, 5 of them unearned. Rosales caps the inning with a 2-run home run. And in the fourth inning, it was Alexei Ramirez with his second home run with a man on. And the Padres enjoy a handsome lead of 9-3. Top of the fifth inning, and a breaking ball from Friedrich. Just misses inside. Kyle Seager, then Iannetta and Sardinas for the Mariners in the fifth. Seager's 2 for 2. Couple of singles. And that one sliced to left. Upton can't make the play. Holding at first is Seager. That ball slicing and dying in left field. I think Upton thought he had that all the way. And then he had to scramble at the top of the grassroots and can't quite glove it.
Yeah, you see him trying to play it away from the banks of lights, going across his body. Visually you want to see this, but that's a tougher play when you're going across your body as an outfielder. It's a play that I think Melvin needs to make.
3 for 3 for Seager, and in the 3 games, he's now 6 for 8 against Padre pitching. Ground ball to third, could be 2. There's one. Oh, it's thrown away and trickles into center field, and Seager on his way to third, and he's safe. Now the third baseman Solarte's throw offline, and Rosales couldn't handle it. As the Padres try to turn 2, instead they wind up with the error, no one out, and runners at first and third.
Well, Jan Hervis goes to his backhand, and he tries to quicken this throw up and get a quick throw to Rosales. Throws a 2-seamer into the runner, which makes it very difficult to glove that.
They're going to charge the error to Rosales.
I think that's a tough play because the new rules, you have to stay on second base. Obviously a catchable ball, but you wonder if that would have taken him off second base anyway.
Yeah, it was tailing away toward first. Ground ball toward third, just foul. Almost hit the runner Seager at third base. Sardinas has popped to short and singled up the middle. Yeah, with this home run power of the Mariners, they have one tonight, 78 on the season to lead the big leagues.
That's the 100th pitch by Christian Friedrich.
Yeah, they're trying to get him through this fifth inning, so he'd be the pitcher of record and can pick up a valuable win in his personal column. Ground ball to second. This should be 2. Rosales to Ramirez to first, and a double play. The run scores. It's 9-4, but a big double play cleans the bases. That'll be an unearned run.
Well, pretty important ground ball to induce by Christian Friedrich in the middle of the infield. That's an easy double play. 4-6-3. Christian Friedrich's loving that.
And Peralta will hit for himself. A rare occasion for Peralta to bat in a big league game. Hitting 200 lifetime. Misses low. Fly ball to right. Easing back is Kemp. And we're through the fifth inning for Christian Friedrich. He gives up a run unearned here in the fifth inning, but will leave as the pitcher of record. Will Myers, home run and a single tonight, will lead off, or we'll see him in the bottom of the fifth inning. Great moment in All-Star history, brought to you by Geico. Seattle 2001 All-Star Game, the final All-Star Game for Hall of Famers Cal Ripken and Tony Gwynn. Both players received the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award from Bud Selig. Ripken provided a magical moment, third inning, drilling the first pitch from Chan Ho Park over the left field wall. Ripken would win the MVP award. The American League won the game 4-1.
Oh, the great Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre, was in that game. Also Phil Nevin, Ryan Klesko, Todd Hutchinson, the trainer, was also there, and the skipper, Bruce Bochy.
Alexi Amarista hits for Friedrich to lead off the bottom of the fifth inning. 2:20 on the season. Then it'll be Jay and Myers, top of the order. A swing and a miss on a changeup from Peralta. So Friedrich goes 5 innings, allows 4 runs, 3 earned, 9 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. In position to pick up his second win in a week.
You think where he was mentally after that first inning. It was like, uh-oh, here we go again, and he battled.
Up the middle and backhanded by Cano. A good play by the veteran second baseman. Takes a hit away from Amarista.
Smooth defense from the veteran second baseman. So many middle infielders will elect to plant and throw. He likes to throw on the run, and the smooth transition from Robinson Cano, really fun to watch.
It's like one of those no-looks sidearm passes by a quarterback under pressure. Well, the top of the order has been very kind to manager Andy Green tonight. Jay, Myers, Kemp, and Solarte all with a pair of hits. First pitch is just a little low, ball 1. After grounding to short, Jay singled to center, and a leg double to left center his last time up. High strike. Up the middle, he's got his third hit of the night. A solid shot. A ground ball to the center fielder, and a 3-4 night for John Jay. And he's going to get a couple more at bats before the evening's through.
Oh, he's putting on a show, especially from that leadoff position. Seeing this for a long time, backing the ball up with his eyes and straight down the barrel. I think that last swing, lefty on lefty against Paxton, set this approach up. Work in the middle of the field very nicely. Watch your lips.
Well, Myers, a home run and a single, and he takes a strike. Perfect pitcher's pitch, outside corner at the knees. 9 runs, 12 hits for San Diego. 4 runs, 9 hits for the Mariners. In the dirt, off speed. So tomorrow, it's an hour earlier, Mark Swinney. You want to remind fans it's a 6:10 game instead of 7:10. We'll be on the air at 5:30 on Fox Sports San Diego with Padres Live, the pregame show. Looks like Colin Ray, called up from El Paso, will get the call against Wade Miley, the left-hander for the Mariners, who's 5-2. Runner goes, and a line drive left field. It's plenty deep, but short. Against the wall on one hop. Jay running all the way is going to score from first base on a double by Myers, and the Padres are in double figures in the run column. It's 10-4. Myers and Jay 3 for 4 tonight.
Well, you got to love the approach. Again, it looked like an off-speed pitch by Will Myers. That right center approach allows him to get just a little bit in front of this double. And you see John Jay, watch the read, puts his head down, sees where that ball is, and reads it very nicely. Because of that read, he scores very easily on the Will Myers double.
So with one out, here's Matt Kemp. He has a couple of singles in 3 at-bats and an RBI. In case you're wondering, and looking back at the winter trade, John Jay coming to the Padres and Jed Jerko to St. Louis. And to bring you up to date on Jerko's work in St. Louis, he's hitting .245 with 6 homers and 16 runs batted in.
I really think that's a win for the Padres for many reasons. He's stabilized the defense in center field. He's given them a bona fide leadoff hitter and also a veteran presence that I think this clubhouse definitely needed.
Reaches out and punches that foul as well.
With that third hit by Will Myers, he is a triple shy away from the cycle.
And he's got the speed to leg out a 3-bagger. He'll probably get at least 2 more at bats the way the Padres are hitting tonight, although they may come up with only 8 innings if they maintain their lead. Swing and a miss. Second time Kemp has struck out. That is the second strikeout for Peralta. Well, Alex Dickerson tearing up the Pacific Coast League, had a 29-game hitting streak until tonight. He went 0 for 5, hitting .439 during that 29-game streak.
Now Jackie Bradley Jr. who? Well, Alex Dickerson, congratulations. The pride of Poway. He's done a really nice job down there, and obviously we've seen him up in the big leagues this year, having that big grand slam.
Longest hitting streak in all of baseball, 29, ends tonight. Solarte batting left-handed. A couple of singles and a couple of runs scored batting right-handed as Brad Hand loosens. And talking about that minor league club down there at El Paso, they're leading their division of the Pacific Coast League with the likes of Dickerson tearing things up. Hunter Renfroe's hitting .320 with 12 homers. Out of play. Manny Margot is a tick under 300 at .299, and the other player acquired from the Red Sox in the Kimbrel trade, Carlos Asuaje, he's hitting .341. I like that kid's swing.
I like his grit. Think about that trade from Boston where Craig Kimbrel went over there. It was a big return coming over to the Padres. He played nicely for Rod Barajas, the manager for El Paso.
I'd be shocked if we don't see all 4 of those at least in September this year. 0-2. Pulled foul on a broken bat.
Got to get a new one. Well, we talked about the improved approach from the right side and the benefit of being a switch hitter. You see a happy fan over there.
It's like a young Monica Seles. What a player she was in her prime, and that terrible, tragic event in Germany where she was stabbed in the back and it changed her whole career. Sadly, the German attacker got his wish, because at that time it was Seles or Steffi Graf, and they were really on an even par. And then without Seles, Graf dominated the women's game. To take nothing away from her, she's a fantastic player, but the guy didn't even go to jail.
That's ridiculous.
Shift on, load up the right side on Solarte, and he takes inside.
Wait a minute, you said the guy didn't go to jail?
Did not go to jail, served no time. He was just mentally deranged, so they gave him a lollipop and pat on the back and said, try to be better, be a better person. Yeah, it's impossible to believe, isn't it?
Wow.
Stab somebody in the back in public, wide open, and not serve some kind of penalty. Line drive, will it carry? No. Cruz comes up with it. His throw comes in, but with Myers running all the way, the Padres had another run. It's 11-4. Solarte with 3 hits tonight. How about the first 4 in the batting order?
Well, the 2-strike hitting for the Padres, and also the approach, the high changeup. This gets in off the barrel, and that's the reason why it sits in right field. But Solarte will take this every time, and so will the Padres. Again, Cruz, normally the DH, playing right field tonight, and he doesn't look very comfortable, but for the Padres do in the batter's box.
First 4 hitters in the lineup have 11 hits total. 3 for Jay, 3 Myers, 2 Kemp, and 3 Solarte. Melvin Upton trying to join the hit parade. He's 0 for 3, safe on an error by starting pitcher James Paxton that led to 5 unearned runs in the first inning. He struck out the last 2 times. Still only 1 out here in the 5th.
Ooh, that's a nice swing.
Padres have scored in every inning but the 3rd, 6 in the 1st, another in the 2nd, 2 more in the 4th, and now 2 here in the 5th. Oh, those Warriors off into the finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Did you think they were coming back?
That's Seth Curry with him in the lineup. And of course, Thompson really won the game 6
Yes,
for him.
he did. 11 3-pointers.
But Curry is just beyond description.
Yeah,
they got to get a whole new dictionary of adjectives for him.
It's like how I felt at Nerf basketball when I was younger.
When you dropped it straight down?
Oh, I could dunk with the best of them.
Ripping the door frame off?
Yes, I did. And then my brother punched me in the mouth because I was playing against him.
You see that one play in the final game against the Thunder. He was going to take a 3-pointer, was fouled, and now he's about 35 feet out, backing up, and he just threw it up there. They went in.
Yeah.
I mean, his range is so incredible.
Looks like a shot put.
Popped up. Back of the plate. Iannetta with the play. 2 away. And that'll bring up Derek Norris. Oh, it is 3. Okay. Oh, that's right. Amarista led off with a ground out. They're not going to give Green 4 outs in the inning? Come on. You know, this is National Running Day around the country, and the Padres are in the spirit. 11 runs against Seattle. Did you get your run in today?
No, I didn't get a run in today. But if it's National Running Day, I might do that right after the game.
Yeah, let's run our way home.
Run to my car.
All the way to the parking lot, huh? Top of the order, Aoki and Brad Hand out of the bullpen, the left-hander for the Padres, with Amarista staying in the game. He's at second, and Rosales moves over to third.
He's working his 25th appearance tonight. Brad Hand has been excellent out of the bullpen.
Good pickup by the Padres.
Scoreless ball in 15 of his 22 outings so far.
Aoki walked to open the ball game. Gutierrez followed with a single, and then Cano lined a home run into the right field home run deck for a 3-0 lead. But then the Padres hitters have taken over. It's an 11-4 advantage. Foul tip in and out of the glove of Derek Norris. 1-2. Amarista now at second. He'll hit in the 9th spot. Rosales over to third.
Oh, what a night for Solarte. He gets double switched for. But that middle of the order has been excellent tonight. Actually, the top of the order, excuse me. John Jay, Will Myers, and also Solarte.
11 hits from those 4 players. Padres last in the majors in team batting average, and this is a very refreshing experience tonight to see him runs and hits. More fun, isn't it?
Edgar Martinez, the hitting coach for the Seattle Mariners, talking to Nelson Cruz, going over the scouting reports.
He was a high ball hitter, wasn't he? Well, I guess he was an any ball hitter. Nice charge, bare hand and throw. Good play by the veteran Ramirez at shortstop. No time to go in and out of the glove. Able to bare hand and throw out the speedy Aoki.
The veteran shortstop with the bare hand and the accurate throw. He had a little bit on this throw. I'm changing that to get a good grip. And then the glove 5. Brad Hand, yeah, gotta love it.
No, he's really stabilized that left side of the infield defensively, hasn't he? Franklin Gutierrez, a couple of hits tonight and a strikeout.
Oh,
right down the middle.
That's a nice get me over breaking ball that will buckle even right-handed hitters.
Cano on deck. Atlanta beat the Giants tonight 5-4. Cubs beat the Dodgers 2-1. Houston over Arizona 5-4. Waiting for the scoreboard to switch to catch the Colorado score. And Colorado lost to Cincinnati, so everyone in the NL West has lost tonight. Padres have the chance to be the only winner. Giants with a 4.5 game lead maintain that. Colorado 7.5 back. Coming to Petco Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Pulled foul. Fans, if you love to see a terrific young player. Not only in the field, but with a bat. Nolan Arenado's coming to town Friday night.
Yeah, 2 home runs yesterday, but yes, he puts on a show every single night. And if you like the defensive side of it, he makes a game-saving play practically every night.
From El Toro, right up the freeway. Swing and a foul ball. No, it's a swing and a miss. Gets away from Norris, but not a very fast runner, Gutierrez. He's had some injuries, and the put-up made at first base. And has his first strikeout. 2 away. And here's Cano.
You guys got Arenado as the most exciting player to watch right now?
You know what? I think he's a top 5 player in the game. And to your point, Clay, I really believe that he is putting on a show. He made a great adjustment offensively last year, came up with the home runs, and it's not just about Coors Field. His production's on the road as well.
Right.
So, yes, to your point, I think he is, and I think he's a top 5 player, not only in the National League, but the big leagues.
Yeah, I agree.
Kid over at Baltimore, too, about the same age, Machado.
He's finally healthy and also playing shortstop now, his natural position. He moved over to third base.
So the Padres, when you talk about these great young players that are exciting any good fan. Yeah, up comes the draft, and it's June 9th. We're just 9 days away from the draft. The Padres have the 8th pick, the 24th and 25th, 3 picks in the first round, plus the 48th, 71st, 85th, 6 picks in basically the first 3 rounds. And here's a chance to really, get 1, maybe 2 budding stars. Yeah. It's going to be a very, very important draft.
This front office is grinding away, not only watching every single game out there, but watching these prospects and how it all evolves.
Fair ball. Myers able to catch it right on the line, and for Brad Hand, a 1-2-3, 6th inning. The first time we've seen that all night. Out of the 6th inning with an 11-4 lead, and will face right-hander Steve Johnson. And the National League, the first balloting on the National League side for the All-Star game, and dominated by the Cubs players with Fowler in right, Rizzo at first, Zobrist at second, Russell at short, Bryan at third, only Molina behind the plate, Bryce Harper in center, and Cespedes of the Mets in left field, breaking the Cubs' dominance.
Well, much like last year, you saw a lot of Kansas City Royals in the American League. They were stuffing the ballot box, and obviously the Cubs are doing the same. Love Chris Bryant, but you think about that position in the total package, I think Nolan Arenado edges him out just a little bit. Madison Russell shocks me just a little bit, and Bryce Harper has struggled a little bit. And Clay, you played with Bryce Harper. What do you think of those struggles so far? They're walking him a lot.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest piece of it right there. He wants to hit the ball, and you know how he is. The fact of the matter of the last 3 years, all he wants to do is take it over the wall. And when they're walking him right now, I think it's starting to mess with his head a little bit and trying to keep him competitive. And, he's just not feeling like he's competing right now, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and we forget how young he is. Mm-hmm. He just got there so quickly.
He's getting the Barry Bonds treatment, and I think Joe Madden of the Cubs gave a lot of looks to that as we see Steve Johnson entering the game for the Seattle Mariners, working his 11th game, 7 walks in 11 in the 3rd innings.
Norris leading off here in the Padres half of the inning, and he drives one up the gap in left center field, and on one hop against the Saquon sign. coasting into second with a double is Derek Norris. Padres' 15th hit of the night.
Well, you never want to say that a strikeout was really a good at bat. His last at bat, 10 pitches, and seeing many pitches might set you up for a good position, and it does just that for Derek Norris. Nice double, shooting the gap and off the Saquon sign.
And that'll bring up Alexei Ramirez, who homered his last time with a man on. Second home run of the week. And his second of the season. And he may have another. That guy is going, and gone. Touch 'em all. His second home run tonight, back-to-back, both 2-run shots and a 5 RBI night for Alexei Ramirez. His biggest hitting night of the season for the Padres.
Yeah, tip your cap to the veteran shortstop. An elevated fastball, and he capitalizes on it. Again, looking for that fastball on that first pitch. He gets it. Also, his teammates having a little bit of fun with him in the dugout. He throws him out. Yeah, high fives for nobody.
And here's Rosales up the middle. A diving stop by Sardinas, but he can't make the play. That'll be an infield hit. Rosales' second hit. He has a 2-run home run tonight as well. Well, time now for In the Driver's Seat, brought to you by Kia. In the driver's seat tonight, behind the wheel, Alexei Ramirez. This is his top showing as a Padre offensively. A pair of 2-run home runs and a 5 RBI night, plus scoring 3 runs.
Hit his first home run in Arizona as a Padre. And now you're seeing him with 2 tonight. Never know when you're going to catch on fire, but hitting is contagious tonight for the Pods.
Amarista entered the game as a pinch hitter. Grounded out his only time. Hitting in the 9th spot, way outside. Well, turnabout is fair play. Yesterday was 16-4 Seattle. And the Padres now 13-4 with 17 hits.
Yeah, they missed the extra points.
Yeah, they may have a chance, to pick up a rouge here before the night's over. High in the air. That's piercing the night on the left side. And finally comes down in foul territory into the glove of the third baseman, Seager, for the first out. John Jay, after grounding out, is singled, doubled, and singled. That was the leg double. That one almost took the cap of Joel Peralta into center field.
Common theme tonight, working the middle of the diamond. And nice approach by the veteran center fielder.
So with the 3 hits tonight, he's raised his average to 284. Solarte with a 3-for-4 night, leading the club, although limited at bats, only 54, but he's the only 300 hitter. 1 for 4 tonight in the order. There they are, 11 for 16. And another shot past Seager. That hit so hard he couldn't get his glove down. And that should be his 4th hit. It is indeed. And Myers has 3 hits. He's been on base all 4 times. Safe on an error as well. Home run and the booty as well.
Well, set up by the first at bat. The long ball to right center. He backed that up with a sinking line drive into center field. And again, the hanging changeup for an easy double, setting up that opportunity for the cycle. The first time it would be at Petco Park here in San Diego.
First and second, and that ball in the dirt all the way to the screen, and the runners will move up. Rosales to third and Jay to second. Chance for Myers with a base hit to pick up a couple more ribbies. Wild pitch. Well, the Padres are one base hit away, and here we are only in the 6th inning from their hit total high for the year. They got, well, actually, they're, one away. 19 hits against Colorado at Coors Field. Yeah, let me go back. Their run total high is at Colorado 16. Their hit total 19 in that same game at Colorado. So they're one hit away from matching their best in that hit column. 1 out. Ooh. Right down the middle at the knees to Myers, 1-2. By the way, Alexei Ramirez with his 5 RBIs, that's a career high. 8 years in Chicago, never had a 5 RBI game.
Well, you got to credit him in his approach tonight. Obviously contagious, and you think about what was happening yesterday and the embarrassing feeling that players have. You start wondering what you're trying to check. It was a long flight from Seattle. You get in here and it's home cooking, and they've answered the bell today.
Well, it's delighted this crowd on Wednesday night of 20,557.
Oh.
Check swing foul back. And we go, ooh, and I did the same because that's right on the knuckles.
And that fastball was tracing in on him. You see the mark on the barrel of the bat, just above the hands. So a lot of hitters will do. They'll look down and have to be a skid mark off of that bat. It was right near the label.
Another foul, and the count stays at 1-2. Padres with 2 more runs on Ramirez' second 2-home run of the night. To greet Steve Johnson. Infield hit for Rosales and a base hit Jay, and 2 men on in scoring position here for Myers with Kemp to follow. Boy, that one was 48-footer. 2-2. There's that mark. Brings us around to favorite comment of my idol Ted Williams. Line drive hit well to center field. On his horse is Ioki, and he makes the running catch. Tagging and walking home with another run is Rosales on a line drive sac fly for Myers. It is another Padre run. It's now 14-4.
I tell you what, if this gets by him, it gets very interesting.
Yeah, oh, that's right for the triple.
You watch how Aoki plays this. This ball squared up to the center of the diamond. See the pose by Will, and if he misses this one, I think it gets very interesting. Nice catch by Aoki.
Would you have been screaming, "Get the chicken"? I know you would have.
No, I don't know if I would have screamed the chicken. But that was pretty awesome. See, Will Myers understands. Maybe hitters will say it after the game. They didn't understand the situation. I think Will Myers had every intention of that being a triple.
Wouldn't that have been a terrific capper to this offensive explosion, as that'll be fouled down the right field seats. So Myers settles for the line drive sac fly. He's knocked in 3 tonight. Kemp with 1, Solarte with a pair of RBIs, but the big man down in that 7th slot, Alexei Ramirez, with a career high 5 runs driven in. He's so cool.
It is.
Kemp into the shift. And the play made by Sardinas.
As the Padres settle for 3, but 2 of them come on one swing by Alexei Ramirez. And the Padres do get that extra point, 14-4. Fox Sports San Diego presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Tough Turtle Turf, the industry's only lifetime turf. By Petco, your complete pet store. And by your San Diego County Lexus dealers. Alexei Ramirez leading the offensive charge tonight with 5 RBIs, a pair of 2-run homers. And the Padres building a 14-4 lead after 6 innings here at Petco tonight. Travis Jankowski takes over in right field for Matt Kemp as Carlos Villanueva comes in to pitch.
Working his 21st game, and you see the splits. Very good against lefties, but very versatile is the right-handed veteran.
He'll face Cruz, Lee, and Cruz grounds it sharply to short. Ramirez across for the easy out.
You think about the 2 home runs from Ramirez, but also the 5 RBIs that we've touched on. There's Jankowski taking over for right. But I love the barehanded play by Ramirez.
Yes.
Every shortstop will always talk about their defensive prowess.
You put the whole package together tonight. It's his best game as a Padre.
I agree.
Got a feeling we're going to see a lot of Alexei Ramirez on Padres Live, the postgame show tonight.
Yes.
Lots to cover this evening, so stay with us after the final out.
Mike Pomeranz, Clay Hensley will have everything after the game.
Dae-Ho Lee, a single in 3 at-bats. Oh, that one at 56 miles an hour.
Well, there's the barehanded play by Ramirez. Off the left-handed bat by Aoki.
And that buggy whip throw right on the target. Swing and a miss off speed.
Well, that 56-mile-an-hour curveball, you wonder if Christian Bethancourt threw that into Carlos Villanueva's repertoire. There's Christian Bethancourt.
He's got to save himself, you know, when a man plays 4 positions in one game.
Yeah.
Low 2-2. Do you ever pitch?
I couldn't pitch. I probably couldn't throw a strike. First of all, wasn't known very much to possess a very good arm. But I threw the 4-seam cutter, which really isn't a good thing.
A 4-seam cutter, huh?
I have no idea how I held it.
Line drive, 1 hob. Oh, well, tearing Rosales apart. And he's able to chest that one into foul territory. A base hit for Lee.
The old cry. Married men back up on the infield.
Well, the hot corner. Adam Rosales, you can see trying to glove that. That's a big hop.
10th hit for the Mariners tonight.
He's frustrated, but I don't think he had an opportunity to glove that.
You know, you see it coming, it's sizzling. You brace your heels and wait and hope that the glove is in the right spot.
Yeah. Such a reactionary pitch or position. You see 3 on the right side. That defensive shift against Seager. I wonder if they're going to go with that fastball in or maybe even the breaking ball as Nick Vincent, the former Padre, gets loose in the Seattle bullpen.
Boy, he's joined the Beard Club, hasn't he? Yeah, good to see Nick on the mound. A rooftop shot is brought to you by Pinnacle on the Park. And a great shot it is, and Pinnacle on the Park, a great place to reside. Seager is 3 for 3. He hasn't hit the ball hard, and the 3 at bat just goes to show. Looped a single to left. Little bunt single that was somewhat misplayed by Friedrich, and they gave him a base hit, and then he hit another little dunker into left field for a single in the 5th inning.
You know, you can always sense that there's hitters that are locked in just a little bit. Even the foul balls, the approaches that he has. He's handled the pitch up in the strike zone very well, both games in Seattle, but also today. Really indicates that hitter being locked in and the swings he's taking. Looks like he's on balance. This is a very talented player the Seattle Mariners have.
Raised his average 11 points to 285. Oh, he went around there, and that is strike 3. 2 away here in the 7th. First strikeout for Villanueva.
Well, the success continues for Villanueva. Get to that 2-strike count and the breaking ball out of the strike zone.
Chris Iannetta has walked, struck out, and safe on an error. And by the way, and of course the Padres and Mariners played more frequently when Seattle was in the National League. This is the most runs San Diego's ever scored against the Seattle club. The previous high was 11. They've got 14 tonight. High pop-up, shortstop Ramirez. That sure glove is under it, and the inning comes to an end. Stretch half of the 7th in San Diego. 14-4 Padres. Line score, Seattle with 3 in the first on Cano's 3-run homer. Then it's all Padres, 14-4, and it's time now
for the Fan Diego fans of the game. All right. That cutie deserves a little TV time. That young man.
He's diving in.
He's got a big night, huh? Yeah, my little grandson in London had a chance to babysit for 4 days while Mom and Dad went off to France.
Did you spoil him a little bit?
You know, I taught him a new word, and it's his dad is French, so he speaks to him in French, and my daughter Emily speaks in English. So he's going to be a little slower in putting all that together. But I taught him a word. You got to teach by doing, right? As we see Nick Vincent come in. And we went out to the store. There was a gelato stand. So we got him a big thing of gelato. And I said, Archie, this is ice cream. And the next day when I said ice cream, he knew exactly what I was talking about. And before we left, he looked at me and said, ice cream.
Oh, I like that.
The old scream for ice cream.
I'd like to say that in French as well.
Yeah,
the only thing I know is bonjour. What do you think of that?
Cross and latte, it's kind of in there.
Bonjour. Help me say it louder.
Yeah, bonjour. You got to sing it. Oh, low line drive off the bat of Travis Jankowski, who hits for the first time.
I don't think you like my French.
Beautiful language. I wish I had studied it. Foul back. It's amazing. You go over there like the Roland Garros all those years. Even the dogs understand French, and I can't. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Makes you really feel dumb. Sean O'Malley comes in the game. He's in center field. As Scott Service uses some of his reserves, and Jankowski looks at strike three. Romero's in right field.
This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the San Diego Padres may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the San Diego Padres.
So Jankowski takes strike three, and here's Melvin Upton looking to join the hit parade. He's the only starting player other than a pitcher not to have a hit tonight. Safe on an error and credited with an RBI on that throwing error. A very critical play back in the first inning. James Paxton, the pitcher, it led to 5 extra runs, unearned runs, as the Padres, their biggest first inning of the season, scored 6. That set the tone for the night. But he struck out twice and fouled out since. There's the box score. Of course, there's some offers there with Jankowski and Amarista coming off the bench, but the starting 8 all with the base hit except for Upton. Way outside from Vincent, who's enjoyed his pitching since being acquired.
Well, he's pitching in his 23rd game. He's a 2-2 record with a 2.45 ERA. Last year was very challenging, up and down from AAA to the big leagues.
There's the high heat at 90, and it gets Melvin Upton, and he says, I don't want this bat anymore, and just snaps it in half. So back-to-back strikeouts. Jankowski and now Upton for Vincent.
Oh, he's getting into his inner Bo Jackson. I could never do that. Reminds me of Ken Caminetti, the late Ken Caminetti of the Padres.
Whew. That's like slamming your golf club. It makes you feel better.
Yeah, it does.
Of course, never would have slammed my racket.
It doesn't make your knee feel better, though.
No, I wouldn't want to. I'd let the ground do the work, or the court.
Have you ever snapped before? Speaking of that?
Yeah. At myself, not at, just that I didn't perform well. Just exactly why Upton feel. He's unhappy with himself.
I used to do it a lot, and I hate to say that, but I didn't do it in the dugout. I didn't want to show anyone that. See MLB.com taking a foul ball, but I got frustrated.
So
even if it was one at bat,
up the
go in
tunnel?
the locker room. The locker room guys would probably clear house.
Here comes Swing. Get out of the way.
I didn't like it too much, especially in bigger situations. So I can understand that frustration, especially from Melvin Upton Jr. He's taking some good swings, foul balls, but also not putting his piece in tonight. He has definitely done that defensively. See James Shields next to him, probably want to add some words of encouragement. Former teammates with the Rays, and now here.
Shift on and able to guard the line is Seager and throws out Norris. And Nick Vincent comes in. That's the first 3-up, 3-down inning for Mariner pitching tonight.
It's a 14-4 Padre lead over the Mariners in the top of the 8th. Clay Hensley, Mike Pomeranz working on Padres Live, the post-game show, which will be brought to you by Cox Communications. Nice to see some offense from the Padres tonight, Clay.
Yeah, I think after last night coming in, it's nice to get a little revenge. I'm sure they're happy to be hitting the ball right now.
Will Myers doing a heck of a job as well, hitting a bunch of balls on the screws tonight. Hey, how about Alexi Ramirez? 2-home-run night as well.
And a bare hand play to boot.
Yep, a lot of good defense, a lot of good offense. Hopefully when we see in the post-game show, it's an even larger margin to talk about. We'll also break down everything that's happening around baseball, including a look at the National League All-Star voting right now as it stands, and some surprising names, at least currently, that are not yet on the fans' vote. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys after the final out. Now back up to Nick Enberg and Mark Sweeney. Guys?
And no, you want to stay tuned as well. The current topic about snapping, in an athletic endeavor that sometimes you just can't help yourself. And we understand by majority vote that Mike Pomeranz, a former left-handed pitcher, is going to expose how incredibly upset he can be when not performing well.
Not strong enough to break. Wait, hold on. Give me one more second.
Hey, listen, a lot of people don't realize I snap on Pomeranz daily.
Oh, yeah. That was unrehearsed, too. You wouldn't believe that. Oh, my. Sardinius leads it off in the 8th inning against the veteran Matt Thornton. So Thornton, who had the Achilles problem in spring training, so he went through a long rehab process. This 39-year-old veteran still's got a live arm.
Activated on Saturday in Arizona, worked a scoreless inning in his Padres debut.
91 on that fastball, 2-1. And look who's out there in left field. Christian Bethancourt. Seth Smith is in the on-deck circle. Line drive to Bethancourt. Will play it on one hop. Oh, played it perfectly. I mean, he might wind up playing every position. I mean, if you can catch, that's the tough one. And now we know he can pitch.
Yeah.
Second hit for Sardinius as he greets Thornton. And here's Seth Smith, who was a terror against his former teammates in Seattle in the 2-game series. Had a pair of home runs yesterday and 4 RBIs. Also was hit by a pitch, if you can really call the pitch at 50 miles an hour from Bethancourt being hit. He didn't even try to get out of the way. And he had a pair of doubles in game 1. So 4 hits. All of them extra bases, 2 doubles, 2 home runs for Smith. Oh boy, he's swinging out of his shoes.
Well, he's always swinging out of his shoes, and a former bench player that had his success early with his Colorado off the bench, pinch hitting. So you know he's looking for that fastball coming into this situation.
Anyway, there are left-handed hitters that can handle. Name it, John Jay can handle left or right. Then there are left-handed hitters like Smith. I mean, he loves right-handed pitching, but he becomes just a normal hitter when it's a left-hander in the mound. He's just not as effective. I mean, it's a dramatic difference. But he's a nice guy to have around. You're going to see a lot of right-handed pitching.
Well, had some big hits in a Padre uniform, including that opening day home run that he hit against the Dodgers opening night.
Pretty good football player in his day, too. The backup quarterback at Ole Miss to Eli Manning. Didn't get a lot of playing time, but he was there.
Eli got in the way.
Outside, 2-2. Speaking of quarterbacks, and of course they're related and always will be, Phillip Rivers, the Chargers' great quarterback, and then that whole deal where Chargers had the pick and they picked Manning, and Manning said he didn't want to come here, and Padres looked out of that by getting a great guy in Rivers. Not that Eli Manning is a bad player. There's a line drive into the corner, and Smith has another extra base hit as that caroms away from Jankowski. And running all the way is Sardinas, and he will score. It's 14-5. Oh, an extra base machine, Seth Smith. 3 doubles and 2 home runs in 3 games.
Well, continues to terrorize his former team. Like a high fastball by Thornton. When it gets into that corner, it can get a little tricky, and it gets by Travis Jankowski just a little bit, allowing Sardinas to score.
So 30 hits total in the game, 18 for the Padres and now a dozen for Seattle. Top of the order, Aoki, but he is not in the lineup now as Sean O'Malley replaced him in the last inning defensively. And O'Malley comes out swinging. Aoki was 0 for 3, but was taken. A hit was taken away by the good play by the charging Ramirez at shortstop and the bare hand throw. Another foul. We're about ready for the Cholula flamethrower.
Oh my goodness. Matt Thornton, the big left-hander, rearing back and firing. 91 miles an hour. That's hot sauce. A little mild. I've seen Matt Thornton throw caliente hot sauce in his day.
High sky to center field and shallow. Jay comes in calling. 1 away. That'll bring up Gutierrez. Well, looking ahead to tomorrow night, it appears that it will be Colin Ray. It would have been Vargas's spot, but he's on the DL. No word yet as to the MRI that was taken today. Maybe we can chase down that information. Padres have not submitted a release on the results. Wade Miley will be on the mound. He's had a good season in Seattle, 5-2. And then the Rockies in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Pitching matchups, Pomeranz, Cashner, and Shields will go for San Diego against Rusin Bettis, who's been their star, and John Gray. 2-0. And don't forget, you guys and gals, you college students, $10 for the upper deck and right field tomorrow night, college night. It's great to have you here. High fly ball hit well to deep center. That's going to stay in the yard. June gloom, that heavy sky. Catch and the tag. Smith over to third, 2 away. And Robinson Cano. 3-run homer to get things started in the first inning. 0 for 3 cents. Cano not coming out of the lineup. Well, I wanted to finish the story about Philip Rivers and listening to our sister station, radio station 1090, and Philip Rivers was on, and they discussing the Padres and, of course, what had happened with the comments made by Ron Fowler today and the terrible road trip, 1-7. Typical Rivers. I mean, he really follows the Padres, and he said, you can't give up on them yet. There's over 100 games to go. You never know.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, he's just the glass isn't half full with it; it's full.
Yeah, it's always positive, always the ultimate grinder in his sport, but also passionate about other sports. I think all of us, when it comes down to it, I love football.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
Pulled foul. That's so common. Whether you're talking to the greatest baseball player or football player or Michael Jordan, they'll talk about the other sports.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was hosting that Sports Challenge show, it was amazing how
I love
players
that show.
knew so much about the other sports and the other players, and more than maybe their own game sometimes.
I think the admiration of what you have with other athletes and what they do in their craft, what Philip Rivers puts into his craft, and how good he is. Even the down years that he's had with the club, he continues to go out and show up and play every day, no matter if he's hurt or not.
I think the Chargers are going to be a big surprise this year. They've really added wisely, and everyone overlooks the strength of schedule. I mean, they are in the softer schedule this year.
They've also shored up their defense in certain areas.
That offensive line to protect Rivers so he's not falling on his back on every other play. We've got to get him back out here. He usually comes to a few games and come up and sit in the booth with us.
Yeah, I'd love that.
2-2 to Cano. Ooh, that's in there. Strike three. West with that delayed call. Cano frozen at the plate, still hasn't left the batter's box. You're out. Cano, hey. Here's an easy one. The Carl's Jr. star of the game tonight, Alexei Ramirez, an RBI single and a pair of two-run homers and a career-high 5 runs batted in, plus some sparkling work in the field. Alexei Ramirez is our Carl's Jr. star of the game. And look who's leading off here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Looping single RBI in the first inning. It took a good play by the shortstop Sardinhas to throw him out in the second. And then the last 2 times, a pair of 2-run homers into the left field seats. Steve Cishek is the pitcher for the Mariners. Here in the 8th inning, the 5th man on the mound for Seattle tonight.
Former closer of the Marlins and went over on the playoff run with St. Louis Cardinals. Now, again, the closer for Seattle, just getting some work.
He'll scrape his knuckles on the mound. Although that one's more sidearm, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more sidearm. A lot of moving parts with Steve Cishek. Fastball slider, 2-pitch pitcher.
Ground ball, 2 hops, big hop to Sardinius. The rest is easy, 1 away.
Watching Steve Cishek, the delivery, that sidearm delivery that you talked about, Dick, but also adding a little bit of movement. You see working the ground ball on Ramirez.
The other thing is you watch that in slow motion, how he kind of coils his wrist behind him too. You had a lot to look at, don't you?
Well, he lost a lot of command when he was with the Marlins, lost his job as a closer, just trying to find himself.
Buggy whips that in for 91 in the strike.
Well, this is a good pickup for the Seattle Mariners. One of those guys that you always think about having a bounce back season.
Ground ball pulled foul by Adam Rosales, who got a start tonight. He's 2 for 4, a 2-run homer and an infield hit. He scored a couple of runs. Brad Maurer looks as if he's going to get some work in the 9th inning. It had a rough outing in Seattle. And down goes Rosales for the first strikeout for Cishek. And that'll bring up Alexei Amarista. Let's go back to our keys to the game tonight from your San Diego Honda dealers.
Well, we saw the top of the first, and you kind of wondered what was going on. We had to get the bats going early. The Padres 6 runs in the first, and they opened the floodgates.
How did you know?
I had no idea. I wanted to bring the arrow out, but you think 14-5. I think Fernando Rodney is probably okay for now.
Yeah, you can totally excuse that. That's an A grade. You know it's tough for me to get those out.
Yeah, it is very difficult. There's Fernando Rodney. I wanted to have him shoot an arrow because he's facing his former team. I like seeing that. Those little matchups.
Ground ball up the middle, and Amarista joins the hit parade. Broken bat single up the middle, and the Padres have equaled their hit high for the year, 19. It feels good. Padres needed a game like this desperately.
Yeah, this is a feel-good night for the Padres, especially coming off that road trip. It was a tough road trip to take mentally. They came home, got some home cooking, and feeling very comfortable now. A great night from the veteran shortstop, Alexei Ramirez.
Yeah, it's hard to tell whether this it's a casual or a causal relationship between Ron Fowler's comments this morning. Maybe it's just coincidental, but you'd like to think that what he said, well, you know, it went through the clubhouse. Everyone knew what he said. And these are veteran professional players being paid very well by management, and each man had to say to himself, yeah, we can't be proud of the way we played up there. It was pathetic at times. Let's go to work.
Yeah,
and they have.
Everyone has to go out there and self-motivate yourself, but collectively just send a message, whether that happened in batting practice, before batting practice, conversations. And if you're whatever side you're on, the clubhouse dynamic definitely comes into play for that.
And for the first time tonight, Jay strikes out, and it's on to the 9th inning. And the Padres lead it 14-5.
Well, welcome back for the Bill Howe plays of the game defensively. How about Melvin Upton plays this Karam perfectly, makes a perfect strike to Rosales. Rosales, no one there to tag, back to first, and the putout made of Dae-Ho Lee. And then Ramirez at shortstop. A charge, that's a play often seen by a third baseman, and executed by the shortstop Ramirez, part of his total package tonight, defense and a pair of 2-run homers and 5 RBIs, as Brandon Maurer called in from the bullpen. And Maurer trying to make amends for his last start on Monday night, or Monday day actually, Memorial Day, when he went only a third of an inning in Seattle and gave up 5 runs and 5 hits. 3 hits and 5 runs.
Well, going against his former team. And Andy Green said something interesting after the game, and I agreed with him. He'd like to see Maurer pitch inside just a little bit. Let's see if he has that tonight. And he'll go to that, especially against left-handers. Andy Green has said a few times that he'd like to have some pitchers pitch in just a little bit more, and Brandon Maurer has the outstanding stuff. And against left-handers, they get a little more comfortable on that arm side, especially away. Tends to pitch too much over there, in Andy's estimation.
Stefan Romero, the batter, his first at bat in Cruz's spot. Line to center, Jay right there. Whoa! He had to go up the ladder at the last minute. That ball carried well off the bat of Romero. A reminder again tomorrow, the final game of this interleague 4-game series. It'll be Wade Miley, the left-hander on the mound for the M's, and Colin Ray back from El Paso will get the start for the Padres at 5:30 for Fox Sports San Diego pregame show, and 6:10 start. So get out here early. Then Friday night it's a 7:40 game, half hour later than past years. Party at the Park. Got to give you more time to enjoy the fun before the game. And then Saturday it's a 7:10 start, and Sunday a late start, not a 1 o'clock game but a 6:10 game because of the Rock and Roll Marathon. Dae-Ho Lee, one of the few starters still in the lineup for Seattle. A couple of hits and 4 at-bats. Right center field gap, Jankowski, what a play! Oh my! Man, that ball was crushed. And the momentum of making the catch and the power of the drive, this takes Jankowski on his back.
Yeah,
Holy
this goes in the bank of lights. Jankowski understands that with the good glove work. You see him right at the last minute pick that ball up, and the good glove work. That's the reason why he goes in defensively for Matt Kemp. A lot of games when they're elevated, and the fans love it.
And the late Jerry Coleman would have hung a star on that one, as did David Marcus, who still follows in that tradition over in the Padres radio booth. The engineer, longtime star of that booth. So 2 outs and 2 line drives. And here's Kyle Seager, 3 for 4. 3 singles. Mariners down to their final out. Padres took a spanking yesterday in Seattle, 16-4. And the Mariners went to the woodshed tonight, and it was the Padres dealing the punishment, 14-5.
Well, you got to like the effort from the Padres responding, led by their veteran shortstop.
Against a team with, along with the Cubs, the best road record in baseball, 18-7 coming in.
There's that 96-mile-an-hour fastball inside. That's the adjustment from Brandon Maurer. Has a little bit of a purpose tonight, even with this extended lead.
And the count runs out to 3-2. $20,557 treated to one of the better offensive explosions of the entire home season. 14 runs and 19 hits. Ground ball into the shift by the dive of Rosales at second base, and 4 for 5 for Seager tonight. In the 3 games, he's now 7 for 10.
Now when you're hot, you're hot. You find the holes. Laying down a bunt tonight. And as you said, 7 for 10. I don't care where you are. That's pretty successful. That's a really good hitter. Younger brother's not that bad either.
No, Corey. He's what, only 21? So Iannetta, the catcher, the batter with 2 outs. 13 hits now for the M's tonight. So a total of 32 hits in the game. 19 runs. So you stay to the final out and you're rewarded for staying with the game.
I love hugs.
I kind of like smile. I just like smiles, you know. DI and Seager goes to second.
I love hugs. You saw the fans. Bring it in. Bring it in. Hugs for wins.
Yeah, you got to watch
that tie.
Line drive into the left field corner and up against the wall. Iannetta brings home Seager for the 6th Seattle run into second, and almost a great throw out there from Upton. It would have thrown out Iannetta. An RBI double for the catcher, his first hit of the night. Actually, it was Bethancourt out there in left field, and we don't have to explain about his arm, do we? A rifle shot from the warning track right to second base. This is a strike.
You wonder how he can even pick up a baseball today with all those pitches.
It was a little offline. Sorry, Bethancourt. Throw that on the bag. You got an out. Got to work on your throws.
It's a prized possession, that right bazooka.
So a run in here in the 9th. Here's Sardinas. He's 2 for 4. The young shortstop. So Mauer comes in. He gives up 2 line drive outs. Romero, and the shot by Lee that Jankowski made the terrific play. Then singles by Seager and a double by Iannetta. Lifted to left. Left center. Bethancourt. Ball game. And the Padres do answer back. The final score. San Diego 14, Seattle 6. What a football game we saw tonight. Padres Live is coming up with Mike Pomeranz.
Nice to see the Padres hand Seattle their first interleague loss. They fall to 5-1 in interleague. When we see you in a postgame show, Clay and I are going to talk about the big night from Alexei Ramirez, also Will Mars, and you'll hear from Andy Green in moments.